with complete repairs and grow their business. From brake rotors to struts, Napa has what you need to keep under control.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, Schaefer and Sliwa on San Diego Sports 760 with you for the next 3 hours. Great show lined up. Kyle Glazer, longtime friend of the station, will join us coming up at 3:30. Speaking of long time, he's a longtime national baseball writer and analyst. So Kyle Glazer will join us at 3:30. We have great giveaways again, Alan, today, including, I don't want to bury the lead, we have a sombrero gift card we're giving away on air in the 4 o'clock hour. I think it's a $100 gift card. Do I have that right, Brent? A $100 gift card. Do you know how much sombreros you can get from Sombrero?
Get a good amount of Mexican food.
A lot. So we're going to give that away in the 4 o'clock hour. This hour, we're giving away Dave Chappelle tickets. Because yesterday we gave away Chris Stapleton tickets in this hour. This hour, we give away Dave Chappelle tickets. Later in the show, we'll give away Chris Stapleton tickets. If you want to qualify to win those Dave Chappelle tickets for June 21st at Viejas Arena, here is the talkback question for the hour, Alan. Tell me if you like this.
Got it.
Does any of this matter? The youth movement, the spark plug last night, the resounding come from behind win over the Reds, if it's more of the same from Machado, Tatis, and Merrill. If they continue to underperform, drastically underperform, but just underperform, does anything else matter? Open up the iHeartRadio app, search for San Diego Sports 760, click the red talkback mic, and give us your 30-second talkback. Does any of this matter if Machado, Tatis, and Merrill don't hit? By entering on the talkback mic, we'll play some of them on air. You can win those Dave Chappelle tickets. How are you, man?
I'm good. What's going on?
Good to see you.
The heck is going on here?
I'm surprised you made it on time for the show.
Oh, I've been in the office for quite a while. So
yeah, what time?
We
actually we got here like 10 in the morning.
Yeah, today we had to come in.
We did.
Both sides of the business that we have to take care of.
Yeah,
it's a good idea the way they were doing, getting us to put some videos out there.
Where is it? Actually, now that you mentioned that real quick, hold on. Don't we have that card?
Yeah, it's here.
Where is it? You got the card? Seriously, where's the card? Not still like doing this on. Here it is. I think I have a card right here. Here it is, dude. Oh, you got one. So yeah, because we're talking about just like the business side of radio. Where is the email address?
It's on there.
You have it? Oh yeah. Hey there at iHeartRadio.com. If you want to join us on the radio from like a business or sales perspective, hey there at iHeartRadio.com. Because today kind of that was the theme of earlier. So hey there at iHeartRadio.com if you want to support Schaefer and Sliwa.
We had a couple of businesses already reach out trying to do some biz, your local business out there. Doesn't matter the size of your company and your business. We'll try to help you.
I like that.
Something you and I both got a little bit of sales background and under our arsenal. So trying to help some of these businesses here. Hey, okay, to go back to the question that you asked.
So the question of, let's go back to last night, for example. The Padres trailing again in the 7th inning, find a way to win. They've actually done that in 2 of their last 3 games. Somewhat surprisingly, a few days ago, Freddy Fermin, his first home run. He has since homered in 3 straight games. And then yesterday, down 2-1 in the 7th inning, they rally. And they do it with some of these unsung newer players. I mean, these aren't household names. Jase Bowen, who's recently called up. Samad Taylor, who's played a good left field, had a couple of big moments as well at the plate last night for the Padres. They rally and win. So on one hand, good. They had lost 11 of 13. On the other hand, Alan, do you know Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Jackson Merrill combined to go 0 for 12 last night for the Padres in that 6-2 win? So does any of this matter if you're not going to get production from those 3? Because Samad Taylor and Jase Bowen aren't going to be carrying this team all summer, will they?
No. I mean, and just like, we knew that Ty France and Andahar and Gavin Sheets, even though Sheets has obviously had a good season, of course, you got some of these players that are on this team for a certain reason. It's the same reason why, if you look at your pitching staff, you can't depend on Walker Buehler and, you pick Giolito or something like that to carry your staff. That's just not how it works. The guys who are getting paid the most are supposed to be the guys that are dependent on the most. And I thought last night was cool because the Padres were so desperate to try to find a way to win. They're so desperate to just give some energy to a organization and a fan base right now that there's nothing positive to talk about. The energy that's there, it's nothing that you can, feel good about, or you could feel like it's sustainable. But yesterday, even though it took I think they were down 2-1 until they, obviously started their comeback, and it's Fermin hitting 3 home runs in 3 straight games. But yeah, I'm not expecting that long term from the Padres. So the players that you just mentioned, the Machado, the Tatis, the Jackson Merrill, it's kind of just continuing to go back to square one. Of course, the Padres need those guys to come through. Of course, it was nice to see some other players step up, but it's much more likely that those unsung heroes are going to go back to what they really are, or literally they're just being brought up. They're not going to be guys that you can depend on, but it was nice to just see some new blood because the team has looked dead for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's fun. I agree with you. It's like the thing with baseball is occasionally you do get some like renewed or a new lease on life from moves that are made, and you do get spark plugs, and you can get a youth movement, and things can change.
Sure, it's a long season,
but the season's so long that typically you then return to
the norm.
The norm. It's like kind of like, here, I'll use the basketball example, and I don't know if this is a good one or not, but it's like,
I don't like that example.
What? I haven't even made it yet.
I know, but I just see where you're going.
It's like if Carter Bryant in Game 3 scores 19 points
to
help lead the Spurs to a win. I'm not saying Carter Bryant's got to be the way we're going to win this series.
And Mitch Johnson isn't saying for the Spurs,
like,
guys got to run more
for
Carter Bryant. Sure.
I mean, I don't know if it's similar or not, but here's what I will say. It is important to get contributions from an entire lineup. And it's great that they got what they got last night from 5 through 9. 5 through 9 was 9 for 18 yesterday. The issue is 1 through 4 was 1 for 16. And I think it's very hard to not win with the consistency and the depth up and down the lineup. Of course, you can do it for a day or a series or even a week, but can you do it week in and week out? And that's what the Padres, I think, are just running into in general right now.
Week in and week out supposed to be your guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So at the end of the day, week in and week out is supposed to be Machado, Tatis, Jackson Merrill, of course, Xander Bogaerts. That's supposed to be those are supposed to be the guys that carry you.
I agree.
That's supposed to be your starting quarterback. That's supposed to be your, that's your point guard. This is what kind of drives your team. That's your all-stars. They haven't got that at all this year. So I think to answer, your question, and they're in the hunt. They're, right there for a wild card spot. And does that have more to say about how great the Padres have been, or does that have more to say just the fall off between the haves and the have-nots right now in the NL? They're there. They're in the picture. But how can they be taken seriously unless the players who are not just making the most money, but the franchises kind of built their organization around? That you can't have, if you got a quarterback that's throwing 2 interceptions for every completed touchdown, that team's probably not going to go very far.
Right.
But if you paid that quarterback franchise money, because in the past he was throwing 350 yards and 3 touchdowns a game, and all of a sudden it seems like overnight this guy can't complete any plays and he's getting sacked all the time and he looks like he's scared out there and everything else. Obviously that squad's not going to go to the playoffs, and that's kind of what the Padres are right now. They're a team where you're watching them day to day, and one of 2 things are going to happen. And I don't know which one you feel is more likely. Either their big stars are just going to start becoming the players they've been in the past, or those players are just not those guys anymore. It's kind of, it's kind of scary to look at it that way, but there's kind of we have a uncomfortable sample size this year.
Well, we have more than that, though. Like, I can definitively say, and you've heard me say this before, and by the way, even last night's a game within a game. You have 7, 8, 9 in an inning where you take a lead, go sack bunt, sack bunt, sack bunt, and reach base safely because the Reds can't field positions. And then you have Tatis and Merrill with some of the worst, most heinous plate appearances you've ever seen. Later in the inning, you don't score an additional run. You had bases loaded, nobody out for Tatis and Merrill. And Ty France actually hit the ball well, but it was fielded well by, I think, McClain at short. And it's play. Like you saw in one inning the Jekyll and Hyde nature a little bit of the San Diego Padres. But to your question, like the fear of, are these players even these players? I'll definitively say no. Manny Machado is no longer the 2020 player he was in that short season. He was unbelievable. 2022, I think he finished second for MVP voting. He's not. He'll never be that player again. Fernando Tatis Jr. Yeah,
Can
he's
I just
27.
stop you? Can I stop you? I don't think anyone is trying to compare them to their MVP caliber players anymore.
But
so all I'm asking for is can you be closer? Version? Can Manny be closer to last season?
Last season, I mean, the second half last year, he hit under 200, didn't he? He was, I mean, that's the problem with Manny. This is not a slump. This is July 15th to June 9th. Like, that's a very long amount of time. And Fernando Tatis Jr., forget the 27 thing. He hasn't been a top 15 caliber hitter since 2021. He was a top 10 caliber hitter, top 5 caliber hitter then. He's a top 75 player in the sport since 2021.
But let's put it this way. If I told you before the season started, or I told you a year ago, Manny Machado would have the worst batting average in baseball.
Told me this a year ago?
You would say that's absurd. Yeah. Of course it's not going to happen. Completely. Not even close.
Completely.
If I told you a year ago or before the season started.
Tatis will hit 1 home run the first half.
Tatis is going to have 1 home run by the time we get to June 9th. So when I say these players have to be the players that San Diego needs them to be, I'm not trying to say Kyle Schwarber. I'm not trying to say Shohei Ohtani. I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to point out the elite of the elite. I'm just looking at what are respectable numbers at this stage. And I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think if they had respectable numbers, give me a batting average respectable for Manny.
265.
Give me a home run threshold.
7.
Look, I'd say probably closer to 10. But
yeah, but I mean 7. So you're on pace for. You're right. 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, the only reason why I say 10 is Sheets has 10. Machado has 11. So I would just put Tatis. Let's say I put him at 10. Jackson Merrill, what would be the right home run total?
I mean, 275 with 6, 7, 8 home runs.
Okay.
Which I think he actually has, but yeah.
Now, are any of these crazy numbers?
No, but I mean, here's how I'd counter it. But yeah. They're not. But why is it that we water down? I've said this before, and you agree. I'm preaching to the choir. Why do we water down Machado, Tatis, and Merrill, specifically Tatis and Merrill, who are in their 20s? Yet when we say Ohtani or we say Schwarber, we're comparing to themselves. You're not looking for a lesson down Schwarber in his 30s. You're not looking for a watered down Ohtani in his 30s, but for whatever reason, hey, we're not even asking Merrill to be 2024. We're not asking for Tatis to be 2024.
I'll tell you why.
I'll
tell you why we water it down. We water it down because watering down makes it more realistic.
I know, but that sucks. That's kind of an indictment on the players they signed.
It sucks. It's sad. It's crazy to think they got that many years left because those numbers aren't just going to start skyrocketing.
Right.
But it's the reality. So when I say give me respectable numbers, I'm not asking you give me all-star numbers. I'm not asking you give me MVP type of numbers. I'm saying just give me respectable numbers. And if the numbers you gave that I don't think are crazy for anybody out there to say, oh my God, if Tatis had 8 home runs or 9 home runs or Machado was batting 265, these are not crazy. If they were able to do that, then what would this team be based off of what we've seen so far? I think they'd be in the mix. They would be so much better. Their upside would be so much higher. And all we're asking them to do is just have respectable numbers. Not all-star numbers.
Well, maybe Samad Taylor and whomever else
is that the answer?
Have Machado and Tatis numbers of 2025 and carry this team. Probably not. Let's hear from Craig Stammen on the other side on these young players and what they've provided to this team. Plus, Kyle Glaser, longtime national baseball writer and analyst, will join us at 3:30. We're just underway. Great giveaways today. Hit us up on that talkback, Mike. If you want those Dave Chappelle tickets, this is Schaefer and Sliwa live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, America is turning 250, and San Diego Sports 760 is celebrating with $250,000 in cash. Listen for your chance to win $2,500 so you can take the ultimate American getaway. Visit the states, cities, landmarks, and national parks that make our country amazing. Win your share of $250,000. Just listen for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. Your next chance to win is coming up after 5 p.m. on San Diego Sports 760.
So I want to make this clear. If you want Dave Chappelle tickets, you have to open the talkback mic and answer this question this hour. And someone that does this is winning Dave Chappelle tickets for less than 2 weeks from now, June 21st. Open up the iHeart app, search for San Diego Sports 760, click the red microphone icon, and tell us that if Tatis Machado and Merrill don't hit or continue to play like this, does any of all this other stuff on the periphery matter? Like last night, like Samad Taylor and Jase Bowen, and
like the pitching,
and
like the bullpen,
Jason
like all
Adam.
this. Does any of it matter if those three don't carry the load?
All right, let's hear from Craig Stammen. Speaking of, again, this is less about the core and more about the newcomers. And Craig Stammen spoke on it last night. Craig Stammen on the young players performing last night in the win over the Reds.
Yeah, they basically won us the game tonight. Just being able to execute what we're asking them to do, steal some bases, you put some bunts down, take some good ABs. They came through with a couple hits in that last inning. So, they've been performing really well in AAA, and they, kind of opened our eyes in spring training also. Won us a few games in spring training playing that way. And we just like that athleticism, that speed, what they bring on defense. They just bring a lot of intangibles to the game, that can create some havoc and make the other team have to make plays. Tonight was indicative of that, and it helped us win the game.
All right, Craig Stammen last night on the play of Samad Taylor and Jase Bowen. Yeah, it was a big reason why they won yesterday. I mean, simple as that.
There's a reason why they won.
It was a big reason why they won yesterday. I thought, by the way, Walker Buehler somehow allowed just one run. He let 8 hits.
A lot of traffic, but sure.
But yeah, I mean, the young guys yesterday were important. Will it happen again and again and again?
Here's what I think they needed. Mm-hmm. I think they're, when they make those moves, and of course the reasons for it, Nick Castellanos, Ramon Laureano with his injury. So there are reasons for it. But you and I were talking about this earlier today. Look how younger they got overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And in a weird way, listen, nobody's saying that these are the guys that you need to go win a 5-game set against the Brewers or the Braves or the Dodgers.
Right.
But I think what it does kind of signal is, can these youngsters inject some new energy into the vets, if you want to call them? I don't have that answer. It didn't happen yesterday, but that's okay. It didn't have to happen yesterday. They're playing a awful team in Cincinnati. Cincinnati can say the same thing about the Padres when you lose 11 of 13. Yeah. But can it spark something? And sometimes, like, you probably know this, I don't know. You get home and you got your son, and your son might just inject, you're tired, you're like driving home and everything else, and all of a sudden your son wants to do something that might inject some energy in or something along those lines. You get home, you got a dog waiting there, and the dog's like, hey, I want to go out and do something, which maybe you wouldn't have done. Not the best examples, but can there be something positive that comes from playing some of these youngsters? And I'd listen, for one night, give these guys a lot of credit. They were good defensively, they were good base running, they were good in many different ways. And I think even just for Petco Park for a night, there was something to kind of cheer about, and there were some different names.
Let's hear from Samad Taylor, Brent, who, again, this is a guy that's been with multiple organizations. To me, was a complete afterthought. He comes up, he's made 4 or 5 really good defensive plays. He had a 2-out, 2-run single, which the Padres have not had a lot of this year.
Oh, yeah.
And had a critical hit late in this game, also to sacrifice earlier in this game as well in the rally. This was Samad Taylor on his roll.
I mean, you bring guys up to be a spark plug. We got on base, had 2 bags tonight. I put a couple good swings, base hit, bunt, stolen base. I mean, pitching staff threw well. Boys win. That's all we care about. No matter how it's going to happen, as long as we get a win, we get a win.
Audio, by the way, courtesy of Marty Caswell. So thank you, Marty, for the audio. I like that. I like what he's saying. It is what matters right now. When you've lost 11 of 13, honestly, if they lose 10-9 yesterday, Machado hits 2 home runs, is that preferred? They lose 10-9 yesterday. Machado homers twice.
To be honest with you, I kind of like how they won yesterday.
I agree.
I kind of like that it was the other players. I kind of like here's some guys that are just, again, there's a little bit of just, again, you need like just a deep breath. You need some fresh air, I guess.
Yeah.
Last night I felt like had some fresh air to it.
Kyle Glazer with more on the Padres. He has covered this team for a long, long time, knows their system incredibly well, knows the roster exceptionally well. Kyle Glazer, longtime national MLB writer and analyst. He will join us on the other side. Again, we're giving away those Dave Chappelle tickets. If you want to enter to win, all you need to do right now is open the iHeartRadio app and search for San Diego Sports 760. Click the talkback mic and tell us if Tatis, Machado, and Merrill don't hit, does any of this matter or not for a chance to win those Dave Chappelle tickets? We'll announce the winner coming up between now and 4 p.m. Kyle Glazer joins us next on Schaefer and Sliwa.
This report is sponsored by Fiesta de Reyes in Old Town San Diego. The Padres and Reds are getting set for game 2 of their series down in Petco Park. It's going to be Chase Burns going for Cincinnati and Lucas Giolito going for the Friars. First pitch is set for 6:40. In NFL news, the Bengals and Joe Burrow have restructured his contract by adjusting the deal. The Bengals will save $10 million in cap space for the upcoming NFL season. Don't miss the weekend art and food fair at the Cosmopolitan Hotel and Restaurant. Artists showing their unique work, live entertainment, curated drinks and menu, all in a beautiful historic setting. It's all happening on select weekends throughout the summer. OldTownCosmopolitan.com for more.
All right, great to reconnect with Kyle Glaser, longtime friend of the station, back with us on 760. First time on Schaefer and Sliwa, longtime national MLB writer and analyst. And congratulations, first of all, in order, Kyle. I know
there you go.
Your wife gave birth to a baby girl, your second daughter, back on at the end of April, right? I think you tweeted about it at the end of April. So congratulations on that. And thanks as always for hopping on, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm officially a girl dad now with 2 girls under 5. So it's going to be an adjustment, but so far it's been fun.
2 girls under 5 is easy, right? I mean, is there anything easier?
And just grab three more over the next few years. Start putting together your WNBA roster. You're good to go, man.
Kyle Glaser with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. So, okay, you've been watching this play out, Kyle, like we all have. I guess I would just start here. How surprising has it been to see not the struggles of Tatis, Machado, and Merrill, but the consistent struggles of the first 2 months from those 3 players?
Yeah, it certainly has been surprising. Machado and Merrill much more so. I want to give Tatis credit. Obviously, people are focusing on the 1 home run and him going as long as he did without one, but he was still doing a lot of good things. He was making hard contact, he was drawing walks, he was stealing bases, he was bouncing back and forth between the infield and outfield capably. So even though the home runs weren't there, he was still doing a lot of good things to help the team win. Merrill and Machado, look, it's been surprising. These are 2 players that have established themselves when they're right as 2 of the best players in the National League, top 10 MVP type players. And for both of them to be hitting sub-Mendoza line as we hit June, it's certainly shocking. But again, it's not just them. This is a team-wide issue. The Padres, even after their win last night, they're 30th in runs scored, they're 30th in batting average, they're 30th on base percentage, they're 30th in slugging percentage. There's some communication and process issues involving how the offense is being managed right now that go beyond just Machado and Merrill. This is a bigger thing right now that they really need to fix and address.
Kyle, is this, one of those situations where you might have to make a change just to make a change?
It's certainly possible, but I think that would be cosmetic. This goes beyond just one person, and I don't know if it would really make that big of a difference. Again, when your entire, offense, for the most part, is hitting well below their career averages, and a team that is this talented and has $1.2 billion worth of contracts allotted to its lineup, you should not be last in the majors in every category. And you can drill down even more, right? Whether it's against fastballs, breaking balls, changeups, they're bottom 5 against all kinds of pitches. So there's clearly something in the chain that is not efficient right now, whether it's what information is being communicated, how it's being communicated, what the pregame routine looks like, what the work in the cage looks like, what's being emphasized mechanically. And again, the nature of baseball today is this goes beyond just one coach. These are all organization-wide processes, and it's those processes that need to change. Firing one person isn't going to fix all of it.
It's really interesting. I'm glad we can get your perspective on it. Kyle Glaser, longtime national MLB writer and analyst with us right now on Schaefer and Sliwa. So, what are some mechanisms that would even be in place? To your point, forget about the hitting coach for a moment. You could move players around in the lineup. Some would argue changing, chairs on a Titanic or whatever. It's June. You could obviously look at the trade market and the possibilities there for AJ Preller. What are the mechanisms for Preller right now to improve this offense, if any?
Yeah, I mean, look, the trade deadline's not for another, 6-7 weeks. And by that time, if the Padres are still last in the majors in every offensive category, they're not going to be in position to buy. So I do think a lot of this, you have to start with what information is being communicated and how is it being communicated. Baseball is so awash in numbers right now. And, Manny Machado talked about this. And I think people focused on the wrong thing and just said, oh, he's complaining about analytics. The analytics aren't the issue. It's sometimes teams do not communicate numbers efficiently with players. They overwhelm them or they don't communicate the right information. You have to be able to tailor your communication style to every player individually. And what Manny was speaking to, I thought, indicated that right now, the information and how it's being communicated and the amount of which is being communicated is not being done so in an effective manner. And that's something the Padres can and should change.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kyle, because, putting it from that perspective, maybe you're right. Maybe these are these players as bad as their batting averages, or are they really? There's such an extreme for so many players that it does make you kind of take a step back and say, all right, philosophically, there's a bigger issue here, but that is, the way you put it, either communication or how the message is being delivered. That's 80% of the battle in most businesses, and it is important to communicate, or relationships, or whatever the case is. So I feel like there's some foundational basics that certainly the Padres don't have the margin for error to. We already know coming into the season, it's like, all right, you're competing against so many good teams in the NL. What gives you optimism that things will change? What gives you optimism that those bats will turn around, or do you not feel optimistic that that's going to happen?
I think where you feel optimistic is the Padres players are being clear-eyed and honest about it. They're not sitting here saying, oh, our luck will turn. They're being very blunt and saying, no, we're not performing well enough right now. We need to fix this. And it sounds like a little thing, but you'd be amazed how many teams, how many players, how many managers, how many front office officials fall into the, well, we believe in our process and it's going to fix itself, which it never does. You need to be proactive and aggressive in fixing something that's not working. So I think what the Padres players are saying and how open and honest and direct they are about it, like, yeah, what we're doing is not working. We need to fix it. That's encouraging to me because, recognizing and admitting there is an issue is half the battle.
Yeah, it's well said. Kyle Glaser with us right now, and Schaefer and Sliwa. When you see players come up, obviously they had the Laureano injury. They cut ties with Nick Castellanos. They maybe necessarily needed to do some shaking up, and that speaks to the Castellanos move. But we see Samad Taylor, and he's been a little bit of a spark plug. I think that's the word he used to describe himself. We see Jase Bowen doing some things positively. What can be the value? You've spent a lot of time covering both the major and minor leagues. What sometimes is the value of like an influx of young talent on a team?
I mean, it's enormous. I think specifically more than the youth, though, with Taylor and Bowen, who aren't actually like super young. I mean, they're in their 20s, but it's not like these are 22-year-olds. It's more about just changing the dynamic. And I actually thought these were really smart calls by the Padres, because what do you do when you have an offense that's not working? You start doing little things, trying to manufacture runs. You lay bunts down. You run the bases aggressively. You start trying to force the defense into mistakes. And we saw last year when the Padres offense was at its best in April, that's what they were doing. They were running. They were putting the ball in play, forcing defenses to make them, make the play. And more often than not, they would make a mistake at some point. And the Padres would kick the door down. Bringing in players like this, again, it changes the dynamic, and it just adds a little infusion of energy and dynamism to an offense that, frankly, had started growing kind of stale and ineffective. So this is exactly what you do when you have a team that's not hitting. You bring in these kind of players. You start playing small ball, trying to get some things going. And look, last night was a really, really good preview of things to come. And I think it's important we see more of it as opposed to it just being a one-night kind of thing.
Kyle Glaser joining us here on the Schaefer and Sliwa show. Kyle, I'm curious. Let's, however you want to kind of lump in these teams, but how do you think the Padres stack up against some of these other teams in the NL? If you want to take the Dodgers out of the mix, it's up to you, however you want to look at it. But some of these other squads, I know Atlanta's playing really well, as is Milwaukee, but you start getting to the Cardinals and the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. Maybe we already know how they stack up against the Phillies since they went 0-6 against them this year. But how do you think they compete against these other wild card potential teams?
I see them as right on the line of, the last wild card spot versus being the first team out. This is not a terrible team, right? Despite all the issues we're talking about, they have a winning record, and they've done that while getting no offensive production from their stars for the most part, Nick Pivetta being on the IL. So, again, this is an okay team, not terrible. I think, look, you have to put the Braves and Phillies ahead of them, the Brewers ahead of them, the Dodgers certainly ahead of them. The Cubs have been inconsistent. I think when we look up at the end of the year, they will be a better team than the Padres too. So, I mean, that's 5 teams right there. And then it comes down to, okay, how do the Padres match up against the Diamondbacks? I do think that is a very, very close on the margins, razor thin difference. We'll see if the Cardinals can keep it up. I think the Reds will be better than they've been. So to me, they will be either that number 6 playoff team or they'll be the first team out.
So knowing that, and I agree, and I think a lot of people, when you take the step back or you're being realistic on it, look at the Padres as a team that's going to be playing a road wild card series as a best case scenario. what does that mean for AJ Preller? Like when you get to the deadline, let's just say they're in that spot and they're a handful of games over and they're in playoff positioning or within a game or two of it. What level of aggressiveness will he have in that scenario in 2026, if you were guessing?
Well, we've seen that AJ Preller, look, he adjusts to what the reality of the situation on the ground is, which is the right thing to do. Whatever criticisms you have of AJ Preller, he is always very much someone who looks at the situation realistically. And when he thinks there's a chance to do something, he will go, very, very to the extreme on acquiring. But he also recognizes when a team maybe doesn't have it and he doesn't go bonkers. So it really is just going to come down to where the Padres are. If we get to, the trade deadline and they're 5 games out and they're kind of, a game above 500, a game below, AJ Preller will never sit still and do nothing, but I don't think we'll see what we saw last year. And let's not forget, a big factor behind what happened last year was how well the Padres played leading into the trade deadline. If they had not played as well as they were at that moment in time, they would not have been as aggressive as they were. So at the end of the day, ultimately the players are going to decide how aggressive the front office is going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've heard Preller say that before, and you're right. It's the right motto to have. And, looking at last season, Kyle, they get to the trade deadline. John, you're doing shows at that time, and everyone got so excited because they felt like they addressed so many of these needs. What have you just kind of made of? I know it looks a little bit. If I asked you this question a week ago, it would have been a lot different of an answer. But when you look back at some of those trades, at least from last season, the idea was you can keep these players. Fermin has hit 3 home runs in the last 3 games. So, he's certainly making up for some of his work. Unfortunately, Ramon Laureano, he's got an injury and could potentially miss the rest of the season. And as great as Mason Miller has been, if you're a team that's not winning, you don't see Mason Miller, as often as Padre fans would like to see. When you look back and you kind of see what he addressed last season, how do you think things are shaping up with some of those players?
Yeah, I still think it was one of his better and stronger deadlines for him to address as many areas of the roster he did with a farm system, frankly, that was not particularly deep and was not particularly great beyond, the top 2, maybe 4 guys. At the end of the day, he still made additions that helped the Padres win 90 games, which they would not have come close to if he didn't make a lot of those additions. The only trade I took issue with and thought was a poor move was not the Miller trade. It was giving up both Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek for Freddy Fermin, who, even with his recent hot streak, he is very much a backup catcher, and trading 2 young, cost-controlled starters for that is an overpay. But it also speaks to how desperate the Padres catching situation was last year. But looking back on the whole, I still think, the trades, I think it was a strong deadline. He made the Padres better. He got multiple years of control for a lot of these guys, and that's all you can do. None of us can predict exactly what's going to happen a year and a half, 2 years out from now. You do the best with the information you have in the moment, and I do think it was a strong deadline, although I would not have made the Fermin trade.
Kyle, final one, and we got about 30 seconds here. Just your quick thoughts on how you think Craig Stammen has done so far.
Yeah, so far so good, right? Whatever the Padres struggles, and look, you can always criticize an individual decision here or there, but the Padres are playing hard. They're playing fundamentally sound baseball for the most part. He seems to be setting the right tone. He's handling, himself well, representing the organization well. He's done more than fine. This isn't a Craig Stammen issue.
Great stuff, Kyle. And again, congratulations to you and your wife and your family on the birth of your second daughter. And we appreciate your support of the station and the show. And we look forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
Thank you, man.
Great stuff from Kyle Glazer. We React Plus give away Dave Chappelle tickets on the other side. We'll announce the winner of those Dave Chappelle tickets coming up. We'll get your calls as well.
They get 1 ticket. They're taking me with them.
No, the 2 tickets on the line on the other side. 877-767-4760. By the way, if you want to weigh in on the conversation, we'll get your calls coming up right here on Schaefer and Sliwa. All right, let's play a talkback. Do we have some talkbacks that rolled in? We're asking, does it even matter if Manny and Toddy and Merrill don't hit? And one of you that has waited on the talkback mic, you can always open up the iHeart app and search for San Diego Sports 760 and click that red microphone.
I mean, how many more ways do we have to give people to listen? I mean, look at the options people have.
You can listen on a radio.
You can you know what I didn't know? This is something too that's really great to know. If you want John to come by your house, talk for an hour, he'll do it.
Sure. You can go on YouTube. I think the easier way to listen to us is probably go on YouTube or the radio or on the iHeart Radio app. Or I'll come to your house if you really want me to. But we've been asking
Shout
this
out
question.
to the talkbacks here.
Yeah, let's get to one of these talkbacks. Does it even matter if the stars don't hit?
No, it does not matter if those guys don't hit, but I do like what Craig did with the lineup tonight and put those guys 1, 2, 3. Because you know what? If they don't hit, we're not going to win anyway. And I like the idea of them being back to back to back. Try to build off each other. Toddy gets a hit, maybe Jackson gets a hit, and Manny. And then if they go, then this team really starts going. So you know what? If we're going to go down, let's go down with those 3 guys at the top of the order.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. I think that's a measured take there off the talkback mic. And again, you can weigh in on the talkback mic. We'll announce the winner of those Dave Chappelle tickets coming up in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I got, first off, shout out for using the talkback and obviously getting in your point there on the Padres. I don't know what to say anymore about Tatis, Merrill, and Machado. I don't. Like I don't have this. If somebody calls in and says, hey, this is what they should do, it's like, okay. If somebody calls in and say that's not going to work, I'll be like, okay. Like you can
probably right.
Basically convince me of anything at this point, other than
right.
Other than but we were having the conversation a little bit earlier, and I don't know. You were saying about how like disappointing. Why do we have to bring down our threshold for them?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
You haven't brought down your threshold for them?
I have. That's the problem. I don't like it.
But imagine if it's like somebody, it's like a friend of yours that you want to trust and keeps doing things where you're like, hey, that was a little shady. I shouldn't trust you. And then you keep going back and, he
keeps telling things to other people that I say don't tell to anyone, but it's on me because I'm telling.
Don't you then just get to a point where you're like, yeah, I just don't trust the guy anymore.
But it's like when they signed Tatis to a $340 million extension, when they signed Manny Machado to his $350 million extension, is this how we envisioned it playing out? Is this how the organization envisioned it playing out?
I'll tell you how I envisioned it. Give me which player.
Tatis. You think he'd be a star of stars right now?
Brother, when Tatis was at his... When he was at his peak, like there was a buzz around SD.
Yeah.
And it's like, we got the guy.
Yeah. Couldn't miss a plate appearance.
The face of baseball
right here in San Diego
is representing the San Diego Padres.
So, but we both agree now that's way too much to ask for. So we've lowered our expectations.
But it's not even, from that moment.
Sure. That was the high of the highs.
To where it is today.
The low of the lows.
Yeah, you probably don't get any lower. Even Tatis, still had moments. I go back to it, right? Tatis in the postseason. Think of him in 2024. I mentioned this to you. I think even during one of the shows you went back and watched. I'm like, don't even watch. It's not even a point. Game 3, when San Diego goes up 2-1 on the Dodgers. Walker Buehler's on the mound for the Dodgers. Tatis, it's maybe a 2-3 run home or whatever it was. And the lead it like ballooned to 6-1, something like that. I think actually in the next inning is when Teoscar hits the grand slam, made it 6-5. In the game, the score stayed that way. But Tatis, even at that moment, had this incredible swag to him. Even at that moment, still had this like, hey, this guy kind of runs the city.
Yeah.
That's just 2024. That's a year and a half ago. Not even a year and a half ago.
Which goes back to my point. I do want to get to Dave. Maybe we'll do it on the other side. But that goes back though to my point. Can we expect that player again or no?
I don't have any of these expectations.
And do you find that to be a bit of a concern?
Oh, beyond a concern.
Okay.
No. Listen. I think how a lot of San Diegans feel, how you feel, how I feel, there is an incredible amount of concern past this season. This season is one thing, but the bigger question becomes, wait a minute. These dudes are going to be on your roster for the next
forever
6, 7, 8 years. So that concern goes way beyond just this season. And if you're asking me that question as if there isn't a concern there, I mean, I don't think there's a San Diego who's a sports fan a Padre fan that's not like.
The annoying part is, why is it when Bryce Harper signs his deal the same year as Manny Machado, nobody says, "Hey, I'm just asking for Bryce Harper to be kind of like he used to be." Nobody says that. But they want Bryce Harper to be Bryce Harper.
Yeah, but you know why? Is because Bryce Harper still has Bryce Harper in him. Like if Bryce Harper all of a sudden fell off a cliff, and there's some players, listen, I don't know how Trey Turner's doing this year, but let me just I'm sure there are players that have signed in these big time markets that are not, but even Mookie, here's the problem. It's like he's already cashed in a couple, how many years does Mookie Betts have left on his contract?
A good amount. And he's hitting sub 200. I mean, there's examples of players that are struggling. Like, if the point is there's examples of star players struggling like Machado and Tatis, the answer is unequivocally yes. I'm just saying that
I don't like the Mookie Betts comp because Mookie has 2 World Series.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in the here and now, my point is, of course, stars can struggle. That's not my point. But we hold these stars to a different expectation everywhere but here. Is that not accurate?
Wait, no.
The expectations of Trey Turner in Philadelphia are to be Trey Turner, and when he's not, he gets booed mercifully. The expectations of Bryce Harper in Philadelphia are to be Bryce Harper.
We're demolishing Manny Machado every single day.
Yeah, but also to some extent, we're like, well, they don't have to be who they are. Just be kind of quasi who you are.
No, I think that we'll go back to this, and I don't know if I have a good comp to it, but I think this is a great conversation. I didn't lower my bar because my bar went down. I lowered my bar because Manny's nowhere near Manny Machado.
Okay, that's fair.
But I think that argument is a good argument, because if your point is, hey, you know what, San Diegans aren't giving enough heat.
No, it's not my point.
To Tatis and Machado.
I put it more on the players. I'm just saying that I find it basically unacceptable on its face. And I do it for me to even excuse.
You're right. Maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe
no, it's not. No, it's not that the goal is to just pile on every day.
It's not. But I think what you're. I think what you're
excusing it.
I think what. And the only part I would pause here is if you and I were cracking a mic Monday through Friday, and we're like, "Come on, guys, just leave him alone." And I don't think we're doing that. And I think, actually, to be honest, I feel like most of San Diego is not doing that now. Maybe an environment at a game.
Sure.
At a game is where you kind of come a little more aggressive. Maybe that's different in Philly or in New York and some of these other cities.
Which I don't have. It's not that my point isn't the fan base. My point is, I will even do it. I'll talk myself in circles. Like, well, you're not going to see the same. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. All I know is this: Tatis, Machado, and Merrill haven't done near enough. And that should be stated every single day until they are getting closer to looking like the players that we've seen.
Sure.
And they should be, for the way the organization has invested in them. All right. Can we get a drum roll, Brent, real quick? Because we have a winner of Dave Chappelle tickets. And I don't want to not give those away. And the winner is, do you know who the winner is? You want to announce it? The winner of the Dave Chappelle tickets? No, you announce it. It is Lucas.
Hi,
baby, San Diego. Congratulations.
So glad we're going together.
See Dave Chappelle. Viejas, June 21st. Tickets at livenation.com. The wrap and your phone calls on the other side. Plus, we're giving away a $100 gift card to Sombrero next on Schaefer and Sliwa. DraftKings Sports is live in all 50 states. Yes, that means you, California. The whole world is watching one tournament right now. Group stage chaos, knockout drama, stoppage time, heartbreak.
All right, the DraftKings Sports app, as we know it, of course, live in California. So whether you're catching the early kickoff before work or late match at the bar. You're in on every minute, every match, every moment, all in one app right here in California, the world's biggest stage in the palm of your hand.
New DraftKings customers sign up with code SD760. Spend $5 to get 200 in total rewards. That's code SD760. In partnership with DraftKings, the Crown is Yours event trading offered by DraftKings Predictions, a CFTC registered introducing broker. Trading involves risk of loss. Market availability varies. Eligibility restrictions apply. $50 every 7 days via click to claim issued in non-withdrawable predictions dollars that expire in 1 year and June 28th. Terms dkng.co/predictions promo.
This report is sponsored by IHOP. The Padres and Reds are downtown at Petco getting set for game 2 of their series tonight. It's going to be Chase Burns going for Cincinnati and Lucas Giolito going for the Padres. First pitch is at its usual 6:40 start time. In NFL news, the Bengals and Joe Burrow have restructured his contract. By adjusting the deal, the Bengals will gain $10 million in cap space for the upcoming NFL season. Make today a little better with IHOP and the IHOP value menu, where a full satisfying meal is just $6 any day of the week. Picture fluffy pancakes, crispy bacon, and eggs, or try the new BLT stacked high and served with fries. Big flavor, just $6 every day. $7 in some locations.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2 of Schaefer and Sliwa. How about this? We just had our friends, Alan, from Sombrero swing by. They have brought an incredible spread for us. They even thought of me and brought by bean and cheese burritos.
Yep. And potato roll tacos.
Potato roll tacos. Did
we
they
got
think
some
of you?
beef roll tacos. Okay. We got a couple California burritos.
Do you eat beef?
I eat beef. Yeah, I haven't had beef. It's been like
a day.
Probably probably about 12, 14 hours since the last time that I had beef. So shout out to Sombrero Mexican Food for providing the food today. Sombrero serving San Diego for over 40 years. Order ahead online or in the app to skip the line and get back to watch your favorite team play. And we got this $100 gift card that we're going to be giving away as well.
How about this? Let's give it away in 10 minutes.
Perfect.
So
Let's
if
do
you
that.
think about it, a $100 gift card to Sombrero that we're doing over our phones, jot down this number. Do not call right now. But the number, if you want to jot this down, because we'll let you know when to call, is 877-767-4760. Do not call now. We'll tell you when to call to win a $100 gift card to Sombrero. Dave's been very patient. We have to get to Dave.
Let's get to him.
Sorry,
Let's
Dave.
get
He's gotten caught up in talking about the San Diego Padres.
Yelling
I know
at each
Dave
other.
wants to weigh in on. So, Dave, welcome back to Schaefer and Sliwa.
Hey, guys, I get to yell too, so it's my turn here, but it's a friendly yell. How about that?
Sure.
Perfect.
So, here we go. Going quickly back, there's two things. One, going back to what Kyle was talking about on the hitting coach, Sousa. Now, what he forgot to mention is Sousa was hired to correct whatever was wrong with the previous hitting coach, Rodriguez. Rodriguez was hired to correct what was wrong with the previous guy before that. I mean, how many hitting coaches have we been through in this city? I mean, it's got to be at least since 1969, about 30 to 40, I would think. So I don't quite buy this Steven Sousa communication thing as much as it's about players. And going back to the question.
But Dave, can I ask you a quick question? You said that just
sir.
on the Sousa thing. The problem is it's not just one or two players. So, like, how else do you address that? Listen, whatever ends up happening happens. But the problem is, again, if you told me, hey, it's just Machado struggling, or it's just Xander and Fermin and, I don't know, name one other player, and Gavin Sheets are struggling. The issue is they are so bad collectively, don't you? Naturally, you have to look at the hitting coach.
What about the reason for getting rid of Victor Rodriguez, who is doing quite well in Houston, by the way? And you know, it's all tied together. I mean, at some point, Alan, the players have got to have the laser beam focus on them, because this is an organizational historical problem in context throughout the history. So put it in that light. Now, let's go back real quick because I don't have time, to your question about the big three. You're both right, but here's the context that you need to keep this in. Everybody wanted those extensions to the big three. Everybody. And the owner wanted it. The general manager wanted it. It was done based upon, we want to win now. We're going to take the World Series. We're going to be the team of the 20s. That was the promise behind, we don't care about the future and possible underperformance, which we have now. So you've got to accept the one of the outcomes, and you've talked about this, Alan. You know, one of the outcomes of these players long term is you get to a point, either age or underperformance or both or injury becomes a factor. And now you're stuck with these guys because of the contracts. So it's not about what should these guys change or do. It's who they are and what they are at this present moment, whether or not anything changes or not. John's right. The trend lines on these guys are not good.
Dave,
so we're kind of stuck.
Yeah, I mean, I
Dave.
appreciate the call. I will say this, and I agree with a lot of what he's saying, although the one real-time reaction that I don't fully agree with was the long-term ramification of Machado's extension. I think people were willing to say, hey, now we cannot afford to not have him, but you're paying a healthy premium on the other side of it. You will be paying a Machado tax, so to speak, for the first 5 years of this extension.
It was, and I think, listen, you were here when all this was happening.
Yeah.
Did anybody really think when that contract was going down, hey, this is going to age well?
No.
Right. So
No.
I think like collectively, everybody just knew, hey, this is going to be a bad contract. And
But we would trade that for if he was going to be good now.
well, here's the issue with when that contract was being signed, nobody was like, hey, 2026, this thing's going to start going down the tank.
Right.
You're like, that's supposed to be
That's
2030.
That's exactly my point. Exactly.
I mean,
Yes.
so
Yeah. So
if it's
2029.
if it's this early, That's why everybody's like, holy Jesus, what do we do from here?
Yes, absolutely. Completely spot on. The Tatis thing's completely different. That's like the Machado thing was obviously foreseeable. Everyone knew as a 40-year-old he wouldn't be good. That's not rocket science. Look at the history of baseball.
Well, and you've always said that what wasn't in that contract was how some teams get out of this. Hey, through 5 years, there's a clause in there.
Yeah.
There's a team option here to whatever it is,
but
right?
These deals have none of that.
None of that.
And with Tatis, it's a whole nother Pandora's box. There's no 27-year-old star in the history of baseball that like has gotten worse. A star, like a true, I don't know, generational or one of the top 25 players of an era.
Hey, there was a point where we thought it was that, hey, this is the face of baseball.
Yeah. And so he's a whole nother. And then the Merrill thing is a little different because he's not getting paid like those other two players. Like it's like when we were kids and they're like, which one isn't the same? And they show like apple, peach, and chair. Well, that's a bad analogy, but like, a chair. Do you know which one's different there, Alan, between an apple and a peach and a chair? I mean, Merrill,
well,
call it chair.
It's funny when Merrill did sign his deal, weren't there a lot of from a players union and wasn't there a lot of noise about, hey, you're taking way too much of a discount.
Way too much.
Merrill was like, hey, I may never get this. Let's just use as an example. Let's say Jackson Merrill didn't sign a long-term deal and he's sitting the way he's sitting right now.
He's not touching that contract.
That's my point. My point is that not all of these guys can come into the league and look like, and Jackson Merrill did. Jackson Merrill came in the league and everybody's like, this dude's going to be a freaking star, which is why the Padres maybe hurried up and tried to kind of lock him in. They were able to do that, and we'll see what happens here moving forward.
Dude, I was at the MLB store Sunday in New York City, and one of the players outside the store, like in a big photo print, is Jackson Merrill. I mean, if there's 14 players on the building, like the MLB store in New York City, and they've got Aaron Judge.
That's actually shocking.
Jackson Merrill was one of those 14 players.
Shocking. That's surprising.
There was a moment in time where he really was a true young star in the game. And I'm not saying he's not. He's young. I mean, he has a lot of potential still, but it's troubling to me.
We use that star very loosely.
Yeah,
that term.
He was a very good player as a rookie. He was a very good player.
People thought, hey, this could be a star.
And people thought he was rookie of the year. I think he got 13 votes for rookie of the year. So, I don't know.
Probably would have got it if he wasn't going toe-to-toe with a popularity contest.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So it's just an interesting question that there aren't a lot of great answers on when it comes to just the Padres and where. And Kyle Glaser, by the way, just said that. And if you missed it, you'll hear it at 5:30. He's like, I mean, there's not like a fix. It's not like he wasn't an advocate of saying if Steven Souza goes, you're fixed, or move the order and you're fixed, or use someone at the trade deadline. And like, I don't think it's really simple.
The only fix is, are these players, the fix are the players we're most concerned about, not knowing if there's a fix to them.
Right.
The fix is like, I mean, there's a little bit of a leak. And the hope is that all we got to do is just a small little thing, and then everything else is going to be fine. But I think for most of us, we have no idea because, again, like when you went back, you're right. I can't be talking about just this season of what Machado's done. You should go further back. You should go further back on Tatis. You should go further back on Jackson. Jackson Merrill didn't have a standout year last year.
Wasn't a good year.
Now, granted, he was injured and just kind of in and out of the lineup. But yeah, a lot of that hasn't, obviously panned out.
Yeah. All right. Here's what we're going to do, because we've just booked a guest for 4:30.
Yeah.
Now that the NBA Finals is trending towards a longer series, Dylan Emery does pre and post for the San Antonio Spurs. He joined us a couple of weeks ago. He'll join us again coming up at 4:30. But we did promise you a $100 gift card to Sombrero. And you got to be caller 8 to get that $100 gift card right now. Call right now, 877-767-4760, a $100 gift card to Sombrero. Tell our listeners again about our friends at Sombrero.
All right, they're serving San Diego for over 40 years. Your local spot for San Diego-style classic roll tacos, breakfast burritos, and carne asada fries, also featuring new favorites like the buffalo chicken cali or bowl. You can order ahead online on the app, or skip the line and get back to watching your favorite team play. We know what's going on here sports-wise. Use that Sombrero gift card right now.
Look at those lines. By the way, Machado in his last 50 games last year, it just went to August 1st, at 215. with a 629 OPS. His last 50 games last year. Add 65 more.
Oof.
And this player hasn't hit 200 over his last 115
215
games.
last year looks like a Hall of Famer.
Compared to his 166 right now. The wrap on the other side, Dylan Emery, as the Spurs have gotten back into the NBA Finals against the Knicks. Hold Jonas at 4:30. Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, hey guys, it is Schaefer again for my friends at the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. You've heard me talk about Hamul for forever, including their great hotel and spa, where you can experience elevated luxury with their refined hotel stay with rooftop relaxation, indulgent spa treatments, and all the excitement of Hamul Casino Resort seamlessly brought together in one unforgettable destination. And now you can take your stay to the next level with exclusive hotel packages crafted for the ultimate escape. You're going to love their dining options too, whether it's Hamul 23 or Tony Gwynn's. At Hamul 23, you can get a lobster buffet every day. Enjoy all you can eat lobster every day, plus dozens of other delicious stations. You can start your morning with their new signature breakfast buffet that's Monday through Friday, 8 to 10:30, with made-to-order omelets and fresh fruit and sweet and savory favorites. And over at Tony Gwynn's, enjoy San Diego's favorite endless dining experience Wednesday through Sunday at Tony Gwynn Sports Pub at the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place.
You have some good ideas sometimes, man.
Who are you
You
talking
have
to?
some really good ideas.
Just sometimes?
I was talking to Brent. All right, San Diego Sports 760. You're home for live coverage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Get daily match updates from the opening match, June 11th, to the final, July 19th. Hear live play-by-play of the most anticipated games in every USA match. 2026 World Cup coverage lives on San Diego Sports 760. We got to start promoting Friday.
Great segue, because we're broadcasting live.
Come on.
Friday, right here on Schaefer and Sliwa.
Yep.
Actually joined Fletch and Sammy as well. Fletch Zone, then going along with Sammy Long. We're broadcasting from 12 to 5:30 from Little Italy's Piazza. Am I saying this right? Tell me if I'm saying this right. Piazza Della Familia? Because there's a watch party going on.
Piazza de Familia.
There's the
not how
Canada
you
match
pronounce it
earlier
at
in the
all.
day, and then U.S. plays on Friday night against Paraguay. The opening match for the U.S. in the World Cup is at 6 p.m. We're broadcasting live all day long
All day.
on 760 from 12 to 5:30, starting at noon, and we're going to be broadcasting live in front of Frost Me. So Frost Me is the location in Piazza Della Familia, leading up to Paraguay and USA. So looking forward to that. Hopefully you can join us. And that broadcast brought to you by our friends over at Windmill Farms.
There you go.
So join us on Friday for the Little Italy viewing party.
Little
World Cup
Italy
getting
viewing
underway
party.
Thursday.
That's such a great place to be at for the World Cup. World Cup starts when? Thursday. So we'll be there for our
Friday.
broadcast on Friday. We'll be doing do our show from there. Yeah, come hang out. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit of a zoo down there.
It's going to be
In
incredible.
a good way.
Yeah. By the way, it's going to be amazing to watch the Italy matches in Little Italy. Oh, wait, they're not in the World Cup in 2026. Ooh, low blow.
Is that necessary,
You
bro?
believe that?
Is this the type
How
of
is
guy
Italy?
you've been working with? I know.
Right?
I know.
It's like Kentucky missed the NCAA tournament, which happens.
It's
by
like
the way.
going, yeah, you're right.
Right?
That
That
is the example.
They've missed it twice in the last 12 years. Kentucky.
Yeah.
I don't know about Italy. All right. At 4:30, Dylan Emery's going to join us. Right now, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you see Wemby as a villain?
No. Is this? I feel like you're going down the
He's
lane.
Such a villain.
You're going down the lane of Wemby as a villain. No, I don't see him as a villain. I think he will eventually become a villain because that's what we do in the media.
Right.
But I do not see him as a villain right now. I mean, so he stiff-armed Jalen Brunson and his arm wouldn't stop extending for about 9 feet. I don't see him as a villain. You see him as a villain?
I think he's a dirty player. And I
Literally,
love watching-
you
I
do think he's a dirty player? No, not dirty. Dirty's too. That's not the right word. Like when you think dirty,
was dirty.
when you think dirty, you think Draymond Green. You may think Dylan Brooks. You might think Grayson Allen.
I'm not
Remember
saying-
Grayson Allen
I'm not
leaving his
saying
foot
Malice
out
in the
everywhere?
Palace dirty, but I'm saying that he does things that are unnecessary considering his sheer talent. And that includes yesterday's shove of Jalen Brunson. And that's not the only recent example.
What
Some
are
of
the
the stare downs with like Chet?
Yeah, but that's
that
not
were-
dirty.
No, he is villainous though. I do think he has a villainous quality to him. He was asked by the New York media about it last night. Took a shot at Trae Young.
I don't think he took a shot. I just think he was basically saying like the Knicks hate Trae Young more, and maybe one day they'll hate Wemby more.
Watch game 4, right?
Okay,
Don't you agree?
let Brent be the tiebreaker. Brent, when you think of Wemby, you think he's a dirty player?
No, because to me, dirty implies intent.
The Brunson thing was so intense.
Brunson's face
is that his
hit
waist?
the palm of his hand.
No, I agree, and it is the NBA Finals. But I mean,
No, that was extreme. Like I didn't know what he was doing. And by the way,
Right.
how about the whistle didn't even
I
blow?
know. And
There was
Brunson
nothing.
was like, "What is this?" I know. I'm not. You're right. Dirty is too far.
Dirty, I think, is too
But I
far.
think he's
But
taking it
I
too
think he's got a little. You're right. He's got a little. Like there's a little chippiness
It's
to
probably
him
good quality.
that-
For him,
that I didn't see. I didn't know he
it's
had.
probably good for his overall ability of winning at a high level. Next question.
Now, this is optimistic. Which
Okay.
Padres, as in plural, do you expect to make the All-Star game?
It's not. I can't answer that question because it's Padre.
Yeah.
exactly.
We're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
So
it
3,
may-
2, 1.
Mason Miller is the only player that will be represented by the San Diego Padres. Obviously, very, very well represented.
Yep.
And then everybody else Where's the All-Star game this year?
Philadelphia.
Perfect. Everybody else can stay in San Diego. You want to go south? Go south.
Right.
No one get even close to there because nobody deserves to be close to there.
Other than Fermin in the home run derby?
Other than Fermin in the home run derby.
I'm with you, Mason Miller. Next question.
Are the Knicks still the favorite to win the NBA Finals?
Yeah, I listen, I was shocked yesterday, and Dylan Emery's going to join us, covers the San Antonio Spurs here at 4:30. I was shocked San Antonio won yesterday. I just thought there's so much anticipation to that game. The Knicks go up 2-0. They win the first 2 games on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I was shocked to see that happen, but I still think the Knicks are in the driver's seat. All they have to do is win tomorrow, and they're completely in the driver's seat. Now, if they lost that game, but I would still take the Knicks tomorrow.
All they have to do is win tomorrow is a high bar.
Is
It's a
win one game at home?
I know, 1.5 point home
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah.
It should be a very competitive game.
I'm surprised the spread's so low.
But you're right. The Knicks are minus 190 right now to win this series. The Spurs are plus 150. So the Knicks are favored to win this series. They do still sit in that driver's seat because they won 2 games on the road. I'm fascinated to talk to Dylan Emery coming up in about 5 minutes. Final question.
What's your reaction to ESPN and Pat McAfee discussing an extension that will pay him more than $60 million a year?
Let me take you behind the scenes with ESPN for a quick second. I worked there for 15 years at ESPN/Disney. Okay. They ain't paying you unless they're making money. So if they are looking to sign Pat McAfee for that type of money, that means he's got some real weight on that network. Did you see in the broadcast yesterday, the NBA broadcast, didn't they have McAfee and Perkins on one of the channels and something else? Pat McAfee was basically calling an NBA Finals game. He's very entertaining. He's not my cup of tea. That doesn't mean he's not delivering. It's an absurd amount of money, but they wouldn't do it unless there was a reason for it.
It's making 30 now. Apparently, ESPN's initial offer was 40, and his agent's offer, this is published today, I think, by Andrew Marchand in The Athletic, his agent's offer was 100 per year. And the expected figure that they'll ultimately get
Middle ground
is 60 or more for multiple years for Pat McAfee. But you're right, it's not a losing money proposition for Disney and ABC.
He's such a big part of their network now. Like he's literally
everything.
driving so much of their network, plus that relationship with WWE, and then he's also involved in that.
College Game Day.
There's
the show.
Got a lot of branches.
You don't have to tell our listeners right now on air, but when you were at ESPN, were you making more or less than that?
I was making less than that.
You made less than 60.
But I don't want to. I'm just going to say I was making less.
All right, Dylan Emery, pre and post for the Spurs as we get ready for Game 4 tomorrow night in New York City. Dylan Emery will join us on the other side to get us ready for Game 4. This is Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by eBay. The Padres and Reds are getting set for game 2 of their series tonight down at Petco. It's going to be Chase Burns going for Cincinnati and Lucas Giolito on the hill for the Friars. First pitch is set for 6:40. In NFL news, the Bengals and quarterback Joe Burrow have restructured his contract. By redoing the deal, the Bengals will save $10 million in cap space for the upcoming NFL season. eBay is home to millions of finds. Each one becomes part of your story, from your favorite vintage band tee to the dream car you've been searching for, or the foul ball you heroically gave away. It's all there on eBay. eBay, things people love.
All right, if you missed Kyle Glazer on the Padres and their scuffling offense, you'll hear that coming up at 5:30. But we are just about 24 hours or so away from game 4 of the NBA Finals between the Spurs and the Knicks. And great to reconnect with Dylan Emery, back with us here on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760. For a moment, it felt like maybe this thing would go the way of the Knicks in a sweep, but the Spurs obviously respond last night. So Dylan, thanks again for hopping on. Secondly, how did they do it? How did the Spurs make it look so differently last night in their win at MSG?
Yeah, it's what Wemby said at post. He limited the mistakes. There was not a lot of mistakes by the Spurs last night, and able to survive yet another run by the Knicks. I mean, after that 12-point, lead that you had again, they blow it because it's a 42-24 second quarter. I think everybody in San Antonio just said, oh, well, at least we got there. But they responded in that second half, outscoring them. I know Mike Brown doesn't like the free throw game or anything else like that, but take that out of the equation. And the Spurs just were able to maintain Spurs basketball. And guys, I tell you this all the time, all 5 starters in double digits, it's hard to beat a team when that happens on the floor.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And it's funny, John and I were talking about the game, and I told him, I'm like, you look at the box score would tell you why the Spurs won. 6 guys in double figures. Wemby was really good. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox hits a clutch shot. Castle hits a couple big time shots as well. They're down 2-1. How much has the youth played, do you think, a factor in this series so far? Because like you mentioned, they've had double-digit leads. There's been moments where it looked like, hey, maybe the Spurs are going to win this game. I mean, I don't need to go back to game 2. We obviously all saw it, and some opportunities for them to close out that game. How much do you think the inexperience has played into the 2-1 deficit?
I would say it has played in a big deficit, but I would also take it from Avery Johnson after what he said in game 2, that it felt like the Spurs in game 1, fellas, were looking at that court and thinking that was OKC out there running with them, but they come to find out it was the New York Knicks. And the New York Knicks were not a team to mess with. They're just not a team to mess with at all. You've got the likes of Brunson. You've got the likes of Karl Anthony Towns waking up in the first 2 games. But I think maybe we saw a Karl Anthony Towns game last night where we said, okay, that's probably normal from him from that standpoint, because he was dominated finally by Wemby. But Wemby I think it was too calm, to be honest with you. I think Wemby in game 1 was like, yeah, we've been in this before. And then in game 2, obviously, we see the pass off the back. But, I think they were too calm. And I think that they go up to New York and they do what they've done best this year on the road. They've come together. And I can tell you this, guys, this team plays a heck of a lot better when they're on the road, because you don't have the distractions of the family. Yeah, you have the Knicks fans being Knicks fans. But at the end of the day, these guys are locked and loaded, and they're looking to tie the series.
Dylan Emery does pre and post for the Spurs with us right now. Game 4, of course, tomorrow at MSG.
Tell them what you said about Wemby.
I'm asking
right now what you said.
Here's the thing. It wasn't me. The New York media yesterday said, "Do you embrace being a villainous character?"
Yeah.
And then he used that Trae Young line. But I guess I would ask it this way: do you think Wemby, as you watch this postseason play out, has become a villain, and is he someone that leans in or could potentially embrace that role?
I think, to be honest with you guys, I love the fact that question was asked last night, because I've seen him kind of form into this villain, because, you run through OKC like you did and you end up being a villain, and you hear OKC kind of crying about how he's getting away with everything. And now you're hearing Knicks media say the same thing. But Wemby's going to be Wemby. He's 7'4". This is a guy in the league that refs have never really seen the ability of a man that tall. I mean, we could talk about the Brunson incident last night, but again, if we don't have what's going on with Cat Williams and Keldon Johnson at that time, we might be looking at a flagrant from Wemby, but there was too much distractions going on there. And let's let Wemby be the villain. I'm fine with that because I was telling my friends last night, I said, the San Antonio Spurs, the old generation, they were always the good guys, right? The Manus, the Tim Duncans, the guys that stayed really quiet. This new crowd of San Antonio Spurs, the Castles, the Champagnes, they're in people's faces. They're kind of liking being the tombstone of the West and kind of saying, hey, this is our town now and this is our city and we're here to win a championship. If you think we're a villain, then come try to beat us.
Dylan Emery taking some time to join us here, covers the San Antonio Spurs, Knicks and the Spurs, of course, in the NBA Finals. Knicks up 2-1. I agree with you in this, Dylan. I think they got a better shot of beating the Knicks by muddying the water a little bit, by being more physical. You could tell they created something against the Thunder because they faced them X amount of times in the regular season. You could tell for the San Antonio Spurs, obviously dethroning the OKC Thunder, maybe the history with Wemby and Chet. I think they need something like that against the Knicks. I think it's just, you're right. There is a perception of San Antonio Spurs basketball that goes back to their championship days. And I think this new perception, if it becomes we're going to muddy the water, I think that benefits them.
It absolutely does. I mean, you're trying to become a new face because everybody, and including myself this year, has compared this team to the 2014 team. But I think they're even telling us local media guys that, hey, we're not them. We're going to go ahead and be the villains that these guys talk about for 48 hours. I'll be honest with you. I've enjoyed seeing all the New York Knicks reporter headlines today because it's like, okay, so if we're in their head, did we get into the New York Knicks head? There was pressure last night on the Knicks. They had all the celebrities there. They even had the president there, and they collapsed. It was typical Knick basketball, and us in San Antonio absolutely loved it. And again, it's a new era of basketball, which is weird because I've covered these guys for multiple years, and I'm not used to these guys being so loud in the media and also being loud on the floor. And I absolutely love it.
All right, so let's turn our attention to Game 4. After we watched what played out yesterday, the physicality of the Spurs, them mucking it up, so to speak. What do you think changes? Like, how do the Knicks try to respond? How do the Spurs counter tomorrow night?
Well, I think the Knicks have to be more aggressive. I think that they have to look at this game. And actually, if you look at the whole series, guys, the refs are letting them play. And I mean, this is beneficial to San Antonio, and you got to love it for San Antonio. The big advantage there is that. But you've also got to have, for the Knicks, you got to have guys like Bridges not have a night like he did last night. He went quiet. He's been shooting 60%, during the playoff run here. During that 13-game streak, the Knicks were hot. Now, they had a couple players last night reach the double digits, but again, everybody has to produce. And if you don't have Cat Williams producing, that's going to be a huge problem for the Knicks. So they're going to have to try to wake him up again tomorrow night in Game 4.
Dylan, what's I keep saying this. I keep talking about De'Aaron Fox. He had a big shot for them yesterday. He had a big bucket. Not that, he's been great so far in the playoffs or anything along those lines, but as this series progresses, how much of it do you think De'Aaron Fox has got to be this big-time contributor? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe just you got Dylan Harper and you got Castle and you got Vassell and you got Champagne. There's other players there. I just always look at De'Aaron Fox because of his how long he's been in the league and at one point a clutch-time player in the NBA. What's your thoughts on Fox's role the rest of the way?
The rest of the way for De'Aaron Fox, and this is the way it's going to be for the future for the Spurs, you're going to get veterans that want to come here, and they're going to want to play well. He doesn't have to go all out. He knows that. What I want to see from him on the floor, and especially in these games, because we're not going to see 20-point blowouts by either team in the rest of this series. Either one team's going to win by 4 or they're going to win by 3. I mean, that's the way the vibe kind of feels. It takes veteran leadership to be out there on the floor and say, hey, guys, calm down. Now, De'Aaron Fox did have a huge shot last night. I will give him credit there. But when you look at his stat line, that's not De'Aaron Fox numbers. That's not former Mr. Clutch of the NBA. But that's exactly what we need from De'Aaron Fox is that leadership. And he's giving the guys the opportunities to pull the things away. And that's what they did last night. And here or there, he's going to dish in a few points. But you guys said it right there. You have Dylan Harper on the bench. And Dylan Harper, guys, in this finals, he's having an absolutely awesome series. He's an absolute stud, and he's coming off the bench. And a lot of Spurs fans want him to be a starter. I don't want him to be a starter because he can be effective off the bench because our sixth man, Keldon Johnson, not to call him out, he hasn't really been there for the Spurs in the last 2 series, but Dylan Harper has definitely shown up and he's ready for that moment. So keep him on the bench. But when you have him as a backup guard and then you have Steph Castle and then you have De'Aaron Fox, remember we were all crazy because the Spurs drafted so many guards over the past couple of years, but this is exactly what the Spurs need. You have De'Aaron Fox as your leader out there on the floor, and you also get Harrison Barnes. I know Harrison Barnes is not playing, but you have Harrison Barnes on the bench to kind of help out when the other guys are resting. He's able to talk to them and get them going. And you also have Luke Cornett, who's been there. You've got guys that have been there, and the veteran leadership, I think, for the Spurs, that's to their advantage compared to the New York Knicks.
You could call it a big game. Game 4 tomorrow night of the NBA Finals between the Spurs and the Knicks. Dylan, we appreciate you taking time for us, and best of luck moving forward the rest of the series, all right?
Yeah, no problem. And by the way, aren't you guys related to the San Antonio Missions with your Padres?
You better believe we are. If you want to talk Missions
okay.
baseball, we're here for you.
We're connected.
Yeah, please tell me that you have a Flying Chocolates jersey.
No, I don't. You know, I'd love a Flying Chocolates jersey. I would absolutely. No.
I am going to send you guys one. We'll get your sizes and we'll send them that
Come
way.
on,
Perfect.
let's go.
Send us Ethan Salas too. Send us Ethan Salas. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
We appreciate you, Dylan. Great
Thank you,
stuff.
Dylan.
Yeah, I didn't really. It's so funny in all the years.
Yeah.
I've had guests from AAA a lot, the Chihuahuas. I've had from like Fort Wayne. I've never been able to secure a guest for the Missions. Dylan Emery might be our guy to talk AA baseball.
When we come back, I want to tell you, I solidified why I don't want the Knicks to win.
Oh, really?
I've solidified why.
All right.
Did you see this BS story that's going on about some of their fans?
Ooh, no, you're going to share it with me.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
On the other side, plus, did Mike Brown, their head coach, have a point last night or not? You'll hear from Kyle Glazer on the Padres at 5:30. Another great giveaway for you in the 5 o'clock hour. That's going to be tickets to see Chris Stapleton. We'll tell you how to win those tickets coming up on Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. If you missed Kyle Glazer, great insight on the Padres' offensive struggles. You'll hear that coming up
Struggles?
at 5:30.
Did you not watch yesterday's game?
True, they're back.
Struggles my ass.
They scored 6 runs yesterday. We'll see.
Immediately.
By the way,
immediately after the game, I went to ranking offense. I just wanted to see.
still last.
Okay. I just making sure.
By the way, it's tonight. You're facing one of the best pitchers, really, in the National League, Chase Burns, who's a hard thrower. He's 7-1, 2.05 ERA. We'll see if Samad Taylor and company can solve Chase Burns. Is Samad Taylor even in the lineup? Or Will Wagner, who's been called up because Xander Bogaerts is on the paternity list. All right, tell me what you wanted to tell me, because I am unaware of what you're talking about when it comes to what Knicks fans are saying coming out of Game 3.
So one of the reasons why Knicks fans annoyed me, I'll tell you one of them. There was a time a couple years ago, and this isn't the only thing. Is not just, this isn't just a Knicks fan base problem. This happens in sports. A couple years ago, the Indiana Pacers, was it last year? Yeah, the Pacers end up beating the Knicks, right? They end up beating the Knicks. And there would be some videos that come out of like a dude in a Pacers jersey trying to walking out of the arena or at a Madison Square Garden. Yeah. And it was just BS the way he was treated. I think one guy like threw trash on him, whatever the case was. They've had these issues. I'm not saying it's just Knicks fans. But when I saw that, I remember back when Trae Young, we were talking about Trae Young a little bit earlier. Listen what's on the front of ESPN right now. Wembanyama, other players condemn violence against Spurs fans. Apparently, there were 21 people that were arrested yesterday for, I'll read some of this here. San Antonio, defeat the Knicks. Multiple videos surfaced of attacks on Spurs fans in the streets. Citing the New York Police Department, ABC News reported that at least 21 people were arrested in various incidents involving fans. Wemby had to have a quote. Karl Anthony Towns, the game is built off respect and passion. We want everyone to respect each other. We want everyone to enjoy basketball at its purest state. It's the NBA Finals. Leave the physicality to everyone on the court.
So
things like that, I cannot tell you how much it bothers me, because listen, there are definitely arenas and stadiums where it's like, oh, you shouldn't wear that jersey there. No, screw you. I'm going to wear that jersey there.
I mean, Dodger Stadium comes to mind.
And that is complete BS. If there are San Diegans that don't want to go up to Dodger Stadium to go watch the San Diego Padres play because they don't feel comfortable about it, that is utter, I wish I could say it, but that is utter BS if that is the case.
But you're putting more of you're saying the blame would be on the fan base of the Dodgers if that were
the blame would be on the fan base, on the security, on everything.
I agree. Here's what I would say about last night.
Because every one of their asses come to Petco Park, and you're telling me there's San Diegans that don't feel comfortable of going up to LA to go watch a game?
Well, here's the thing. That it's hard to paint the brush on an entire fan base.
Of course it is.
You know what I mean?
Of course. And I know it's just a couple of idiots.
To your point, there's going to be, and there's narratives. It's like Philadelphia Eagles fans, you wouldn't want to go there in a Cowboys jersey or in a Giants jersey. And some of that is probably true, but this stuff could happen even in San Antonio, for example. Shoot, I'm sure there's been incidents in San Diego over the years, whether it's the Chargers. I mean, it's not, no fan base is entirely clear probably of some of the altercations that play out.
You need a couple idiots to have a couple stories like this, and then you can start getting portrayed a certain way.
I mean, I'm 100% in agreement with the Spurs and even the Knicks players that are like, there's no room for this. I mean, it's utter insanity. It's ridiculous. It is a part of American sports. It's not just American sports. Look at the way European soccer traditionally plays out with fan bases. There is no place for it. And I hate to see that stuff. But I do think it crosses the minds of a lot of sports fans in general. Hey, am I going to take my son or my wife to I'm making up Sunday night football game? Am I going to go to a Dodgers Padres game or some Dodgers Giants? Obviously, there was that highly profiled case of the fan.
Of course.
Back in the day. So
but we shouldn't feel
it's unfortunate
for San Diegans. Well, I'll use the example going up to Dodger Stadium. You've been up to Dodger Stadium?
I have.
Okay.
I have
been to a few games.
And I honestly, I felt no concern at Dodger Stadium. That's my truthful feeling at Dodger Stadium.
I've had people tell me like, hey, are you sure?
I have
Are you sure you want to go up there? I'm like, yeah, I am sure. But now the type of fan I am.
Yeah, you're not going to be causing trouble.
But by the way, listen, people will say stuff to you but I'm also not going to pay attention to it. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go try and watch my team. But I'll just use that as an example. I hate to hear that. Like, if there are San Diegans, let's say they've never been to Dodger Stadium.
Sure.
Obviously, it's an iconic park. It's been around for a number of years. There's historic elements to it. Yeah, you should go up to Dodger Stadium and watch your San Diego Padres. Now, I know you feel a little bit better when the team's good. You feel a little bit better when you got a shot to win and everything else. But I'm scared to go up there, or I'm worried that someone might cost something. I don't know why that really, really rubs me the wrong way.
Which is fair, and I think that's completely reasonable. But I'll say this right now. If you asked 100 Padres fans, would you think twice about bringing your entire family in Padres gear to Dodger Stadium as opposed to Coors Field?
Well, then why would it? Can I just go back to this? Then why would it be okay for a Dodger fan to have no problem coming down to San Diego and Petco Park with their family?
Because Padres fans are more reasonable. Right? I don't have the answer for you. You've been to Petco more than I have probably in your life.
Sure.
And there have been, listen, I've been to Padres Dodgers a number of times. You have it in the postseason. I used to go to I used to go to Charger Raider games at Qualcomm. That's in San Diego, California. There's fights in the stands.
It was ugly.
Yeah. So I guess and when the Dodgers play the Padres in the postseason, although it was mostly Padres fans going back to like 2022, and I know they played in 2024, there's tension between the two fan bases.
But the issue I have is right now, let's say we worked out an event and we said, you know what, we're taking 2 busload of San Diegans. We're going to go up to Dodger Stadium. We're going to go watch the Padres and the Dodgers. You want to know why? Because we want to go see our team. And you know what? Maybe there's a couple of places that we go to in Los Angeles because this is a famous this and a famous that. And you get the experience of Los Angeles, California. And then we go enjoy the game. And then we get on our buses and we come back. If that's an issue, I got an issue.
It's
happening here.
Right.
But it can't be both ways. And maybe this isn't a conversation for you and I. Maybe this is a conversation for, the security or something along those lines. Because if you told me that, they don't come into our territory and we don't go into theirs. By the way, it's 2026. Like that'd be complete, obviously BS. But it happens here. So if it's going to happen here, it shouldn't be an issue up there.
It happening here as Dodger fans come into San. But here's the thing. You would also advocate, and I would as well, that we're not advocating for like an eye for an eye. Like I think if Dodger fans come to Petco Park, the number one goal and initiative is not to make their life a living hell. That's just how I am as a fan. I'm
with you on that.
That's just not how I am. Now, I can't speak for how Dodger fans treat opposing fans in their ballpark. I have a feeling some of them try to make those opponent fans, their life a living hell. But I mean,
I've never had an issue wearing Padre gear up there. But and you just brought it up, like the idea or the concept of would you have an issue going up? And you say, yeah, I think there would be San Diegans kind of pause on that. Yeah, that sucks.
Because it as well as why is it? The Padres have this incredible fan base. And I would say it speaks more to Petco Park than anything. But why is it that there's so many Dodger fans that come down here? I think it speaks to it's a better experience for a lot to go to Petco Park. Maybe it's even more affordable. And why is it so few Padres fans go to Dodger Stadium? And I think it speaks to some of that animosity or tension between the fan bases. Because I see Padres fans in Miami. I see them in Denver. I see them in Phoenix. And I know they're in LA. But not in droves. You've been there more than I have for a Padres-Dodgers game. There's not 11,000 Padres fans at Dodger Stadium, are there?
No.
Has there ever been a game where there's 15,000 Padres fans at Dodger Stadium? Because there have been games with 15,000 Dodger fans at Petco Park.
Can I tell you something let me flip the script here real quick? Does it have something also to do with, let's say we're dominating the division. Let's say we have Shohei Ohtani.
Right. You're puffing out your chest.
And maybe that would change the narrative as well.
It's a good conversation. Yeah. It's interesting. It is. All right. In the 5 o'clock hour, what is playing out in college football, by the way? We'll get into the latest with the quarterback for Texas Tech, Brendan Sorsby, and the fallout related to it. Plus Kyle Glazer, formerly with Baseball America, his thoughts on the struggling Padres offense at 5:30. Plus, we're giving away Chris Stapleton tickets in the 5 o'clock hour. This is Schaefer and Sliwa on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies. Padres and Reds are downtown at Petco getting set for game 2 of their series tonight. It's going to be Chase Burns going for the Reds and Lucas Giolito on the hill for the Padres. First pitch is set for 6:40. In NFL news, the Bengals and Joe Burrow have restructured his contract. By adjusting the deal, the Bengals will gain $10 million in cap space for the upcoming NFL season. Interruptions will always come up at work, but with built-in intelligence and optimized battery, the Dell Pro laptop powered by Intel Core Ultra with vPro is built for those who stay in the flow. Built for you, Dell.com/Dell Pro.
All right, final hour of Schaefer and Sliwa here on San Diego Sports 760. Did we mention the Padres have a game to play tonight, Alan? It's 6:40, game 2 of this critical 3-game series against the Reds coming up tonight. Are you going down there tonight?
No, I'll go tonight, man. I got to run 37 errands after the show.
Yeah, you've been wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, which is a little odd after the show to have something to do. You know?
No, you're an after show guy. Hey, I'm going to the gym. I'm buying a mixer.
Oh, like yeah, I had to get a mixer yesterday.
You're like an after show guy, which
shout out Guitar Center. I had to buy a mixer from Guitar Center yesterday.
Am I the only one that goes into like a Guitar Center, for example, and I'm automatically like, yo, I'm about to I'm starting a band, man. We're playing I'm doing 22 cities. I'm like ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, can I grab that? Let me grab that off the top shelf there. Like, you know how to play guitar? I'm like, no. But I could learn, or I go out and I play the drums. Like I'm into it when I'm in a Guitar Center.
That's the type of place where I walk into and I got no idea what's going on.
Right.
If they didn't have the podcasting equipment, because the one I went to yesterday is in La Mesa. I grew up in El Cajon. So that Guitar Center, and I had a good buddy of mine growing up that was he was in a band and he was in all that stuff. I have one of my cousins, there's when I tell you I have absolutely what's that?
Was it the Foo Fighters?
It wasn't the Foo Fighters, but that's a really good guess. That's a really good guess.
That'd be huge.
It was Weezer.
Oh wow. That's unbelievable. Wow.
But there's I walk in there and I just see stuff and none of it applies to me. It's like walking into
the amps, man. They love those amps, don't they?
Nothing applies. And then you see, somebody giving lessons, and then you see people coming in with these real questions. And I'm just like, hey, I just need I forgot my mixer. So I have to buy a mixer.
Yeah.
Even that, it's the most simple setup you could think of.
Did you, as a kid, were you required by chance to have to play a musical instrument growing up in school?
No.
Brent, were you required?
It was optional.
I was required.
What'd you
2 years?
What'd you pick?
I always wanted to play the drums, and they told me when I went in, I think it was 3rd grade, they're like, you can't play the drums. You have no rhythm. Which, by the way, with the benefit of hindsight, you shouldn't tell that to someone.
I was just going to say, how?
Do you tell
Can you take down a 3rd grader
1989
with, hey, brother, got some news for you.
But
you don't have any rhythm, might be the meanest thing you can possibly tell a 3rd grader.
That's what I'm saying. So I pushed through, and I later became the lead drummer for Rage Against the Machine.
That was you.
That was me. No, but I owned for about 10 years. I played drums obsessively for 10 years, and I owned a Fire Engine Red drum set. And I've always loved music. Honestly, dude, if there's one thing, because honestly, I feel like this job or this type of work is tied a little bit to it. We're communicating, we're creative, we do it for a job. It's because we're passionate about it. I feel like music is closely tied to what we do. I think different.
We've had the conversations. I think even a lot of radio shows, right? Music is a important component of the personality of the show.
I agree with you completely.
So I'm with you on that. I think music's a big part of that.
Can you read music though?
No, I mean,
that was my big thing. I can't read it.
At the time I could. I would take lessons for it. I took lessons for years and years and years. If this doesn't work out, Alan, you need to pick up an instrument because we're touring.
Yeah, we should definitely tour.
We should definitely tour. Yeah.
Where were we going with that?
Well, we're going to go to Little Italy on Friday.
That's right. Friday we're doing
the
that.
USA Paraguay watch party. We're broadcasting live from 12 to 5:30. Fletch and Sammy, then going along with Sammy Long, then Schaefer and Sliwa right here on San Diego Sports 760. So join us as the point on Friday, getting you ready for World Cup action right here on the station. And of course, USA's first match coming up Friday night.
It's going to be fun. That's going to be fun to get out there. Little Italy. And this is, look, wherever you are, some people absolutely love soccer. Some people love the World Cup. World Cup to me is one of the kind of funner 30-day tournaments that you're going to possibly have. So we'll be carrying a lot of these games as well.
Real quick, and we'll get back to the Padres and this game tonight against the Reds and facing Chase Burns. I always equate the start of a World Cup. Tell me if you feel this or not.
Okay.
Because again, am I a diehard soccer fan? I think if anyone's ever listened to this show, and no, I don't have the knowledge or expertise of a number of people that do, but I do enjoy it, specifically the World Cup. And here's how I equate the World Cup. It reminds me a lot, the group stage, when these matches are all playing out before it gets to like tournament play, it reminds me of the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's good.
But a longer period of time. Yeah. It's like that first week or two where everyone's playing and everyone's got a shot. I love when everyone has a shot. Once you get to the Sweet 16, it's like not everyone has a shot anymore.
That's pressure.
But I'm even talking about in basketball. You know what I mean? Now you got the bigger brands by and large these last couple of years. I like the idea of like someone shaking things up initially. And I think it applies to both the NCAA tournament, the Cinderella idea, and I think it applies to the World Cup as well.
It's the first year they're going 48, right?
First time they've ever gone to 48. Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, again, anytime it's like tournament style, and you get to the Sweet 16, and especially like college basketball and soccer, very similar in the sense of like,
sport.
No, but very similar in the sense of you can win one game. You can win one game.
That's right.
I mean, you could have a squad dominate possession,
but they don't score.
Shots on target, and they don't score. And one squad gets one shot in, it's like it's 1-0, and you're in the 90th minute.
Or you're even with them. Like, team out shoots you 16-1, and the
final go to penalty kicks, and
exactly, and you win the match. So anyway, we'll have all the coverage in the world for you for the World Cup getting underway on Thursday. Now, last night for the Padres, we touched on the fact that they did some things they haven't done all year long, such as small ball. That has not been a tenet of Craig Stammen's team here in 2026. Yet yesterday I saw something. This is what I love about baseball. I saw something last night I've never seen ever, and I've watched 10,000 baseball games in my life. I've never once seen a team sacrifice on 3 consecutive plate appearances, and that's what the Padres did. And what they also did in that spot was have the Reds not record an out on all 3 of those bunts, which I've never seen in my entire life. It's what I love about baseball. But my question now is, does it apply, as we've talked about throughout the course of the day, or not moving forward? Do we see more small ball? Kyle Glaser said, you'll hear from him at 5:30, he'd like to see the Padres take on a little more of that personality. Did last night create like a new path for the Padres, or just last night just stand on its own and whatever? It's a random game. They won 6-2.
I think you got to ask yourself, how are the Padres winning games when they win? Are they winning with 5, 6 runs, 7 runs?
On average, no.
They're never winning that way, right? But typically, if they win a game, it's 3-2. It's 3-1.
Yeah.
It's like it's a low scoring. That's who they are. And I think as much as whether you want to admit it or you don't, we were talking a little bit earlier in the show about Manny and Tatis and Jackson Merrill, and I thought that was an interesting conversation, because every time I'm like, hey, I don't think those guys are those guys anymore, and you're trying to hold them back up to a standard where they should be held, and you're trying to hold them to a standard of but their contract says that. The reality is, in order for the Padres to win games right now, I think you have to have a little bit of small ball. I think you have to have a little bit of, if there's a dude on second and no one is out,
gotta get him over.
I don't know how we might not get another opportunity if you got a guy on third with one out. Like the Padres, they're not a team, and we saw this with Philadelphia. It's like Phillies can be struggling, and then bam, you got 2 dudes hit 2-run homer here, a 3-run, and that's it. Like that's all they need. That's what their offense needs. That's not what the Padres can depend on. So to answer your question, I don't care how they manufacture these runs. I think it's just much more important for them. This is kind of their identity. they don't have a good offense. They have the worst offense in baseball. So if you have to play small ball to manufacture some runs, then that's what you're going to have to do.
It's funny because a year ago, and I was one of the first people to do it, and everyone was saying the same thing. I don't like the style of play for the Padres, right? They would be playing a game at Denver, Colorado against the Rockies in September, getting a guy on and bunting. That happened last year in September. Like, you're going to bunt in the first inning to try to manufacture a run. And now I'm almost clamoring for it. So it's interesting how your perspective changes because this team cannot score. And I agree with you. I think it's more about relying on ways. It doesn't have to be it's not a beauty contest. How can we put ourselves in a position to score one additional run or so per game?
Opportunistic.
And it goes back to this conversation we've had, you and I as well. It's like, does it have to be sexy or just want to win? It's an end result thing. 3-2 is going to have to be good enough if you're winning. It's probably preferred to having the worst pitching staff in baseball and just losing 10-7 and having no shot because your pitching staff sucks. So if you have to win this way, at least you're winning. And they are winning to some extent.
Here's the question. The question is, I think probably the more appropriate question is and this is the question we've been having about the Padres all season. Is this stuff sustainable? Are they going to be, Are you bunting through, is this going to be like,
ask Mike Schilt.
There's going to be better teams than the Cincinnati Reds that will field the ball.
Yeah,
okay?
But don't you think this is Mike Schilt had an average offense at best last year. Of course, better than this. Is the worst offense in the sport. So that is fair. But he had a bad offense last year.
They got criticized for it, right? They got criticized for playing small ball.
For playing small. But to your point, they won games, not just against the Reds, but they won games playing this way.
Sure.
They were a consistent winner.
And do you know why? Listen, I don't care what most people's opinion is of Mike Schilt. You might have loved him or hated him. But here's the one thing you can't say about Mike Schilt. Mike Schilt won
a ton in St. Louis and San Diego, yeah.
Right? He won games. So if Mike Schilt treated every one of these games in this, I'm just trying to win today. I'll worry about tomorrow. If Mike Schilt played that style of baseball with the Padres, you think he played that style because he thought this is beautiful baseball? He played that style because he felt this might be the only way this team can win. If he was managing the Phillies, is he going to do the same thing?
No.
Managing the Braves, managing the Yankees. Like, there's other teams that he would not manage this way. He had to manage them this way to get back to the postseason. Maybe Stammen is starting to look at this team and saying, whatever we're trying to do, clearly this is atrocious and it's nosediving. They did something a little bit different yesterday.
And we just said 24 hours ago, we're like, they're identity-less. And then I watched them play small ball. I'm like, you know what? That reminds me of the Padres from 24 and 25 that actually had some decent teams that made the postseason. All right, coming up at 5:30, if you missed our conversation with Kyle Glazer on the Padres struggling offense, you'll hear that at 5:30. We'll let you know how to win Chris Stapleton tickets on the other side. Plus, is this the moment in time that actually changes college athletics and specifically college football for forever? We'll react on the other side. Schaefer and Sliwa, San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. All right,
San Diego Sports.
If you want to win tickets to see Chris Stapleton, tell us why you want to go to the show.
Okay.
How about that? Tell us why you want to go to see Chris Stapleton. This will be July 11th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Why
So
do you
we
want to
had-
see that show?
We had a winner earlier that I said is going to take me to the Chappelle show. I think this winner would take you because this is your type
I
of
would
show.
love to see Chris Stapleton with
Yeah.
that winner. Here's all you got to do. Open up the iHeart app, search for 760, click the talkback mic, and tell us your name and where you're listening from and why you want to see Chris Stapleton. I mean, that's an amazing giveaway. It really is. If you're a country music fan, 2 free tickets, Chris Stapleton, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater this July.
Phenomenal.
Enter right now. The only way to win is open up the iHeartRadio app, search for 760, and click that red microphone icon. We've both talked about this, I think, off air. We maybe even touched on it on air yesterday. This Brendan Sorsby case, the starting quarterback at Texas Tech that has been granted a temporary injunction to play in 2026.
Yeah.
Even after the NCAA declared him ineligible because he has wagered on college sports tens of thousands of times, right? With prop bets. I think that's accurate, or thousands of times with prop bets. It has opened up, I think it's the second time I'm mentioning Pandora's box. It's opened up a Pandora's box. And it's like, it seems like this is a moment in time where everyone is up in arms over it, everyone outside of Texas Tech. So, what is this a reason why there's so much clamoring to get this bill passed that will quote unquote save college athletics? So we stop having so much of like, well, there's a judge in Alabama that's going to let this player play. There's a judge in Texas. Like, there needs to be a much more clear set of guidelines that everyone is playing under.
I don't know the solution. I really don't. When I first read the news, I was shocked that. And what they said, a court date, and the court date's not going to be until February. And then I think you mentioned there might be teams that don't want to play Texas Tech, and the people that are involved in this are all in Texas, and these are Texas Tech alums. I think you had mentioned something along those lines.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like a lot of this is college athletics right now. Not to say it probably wasn't dirty before, because I'm sure it was. I know it was. We all know college athletics was dirty. But now it's dirty and it's just kind of all in front of you. And, I was reading something that the case that his attorneys were trying to make was, look, there is these sports gambling and the prop bets and everything else. It's in your face. Let's not pretend like it's not in your face. And you know what? I don't know how I would have done at 18, 19, 20 years old that I could just download this app and I could start betting. And then now I'm starting to look here and, okay, maybe I'm not betting on my game, but I'm betting on others. Obviously, I'm not. I don't think it's okay. Of course, do I think he should have been banned from playing college football? No question about it. But, brother, not everybody is created equal. And there are people that I do think have genuine addictions. And I do think that this stuff is so in your face. I don't have really an addictive personality, but I know people who do.
Sure.
I know when they get into something, like they're stuck on that. And then they might get off of it for 3 or 6 months, but then they're eventually going to go back to it. It's just it's muddying the water a lot.
It is
a lot.
Here's the way I look at it. It's not to make light of, you're right, something as serious as addiction. That's not the point. My point that I think is more preferable to make is most leagues operate under rules and guidelines.
Yes.
And for whatever reason,
this is right.
One
just the wild
just
west.
Does not. And by the way, the second most popular sport in this country, it's not close, is college football. The NBA will not draw near the ratings over the course of their postseason to what Ohio State and Michigan will do. What Ohio State will do over the course of the playoff and even the regular season. It's the second most popular sport in America. It's football.
As powerful as can be. The SEC, the Big Ten. Yep.
You're right. There's listen, the way, I'll give you an example. Each league has its own set of rules. Maybe PEDs are treated one way by the NFL and differently by Major League Baseball. NFL might say first instance is a 4-game suspension or a 2-game suspension. Major League Baseball has a heavier hand now.
Sure.
Because of its role in the sport, it's 80 games. So whatever, they have their own rules. The NCAA ruled the player ineligible. It's almost separate from the conversation about what he did. And I'm with you. There's a lot of gray in there, and you could make some arguments for what's playing out there is problematic. But the NCAA has a set of rules that he violated. but then a court in the state of Texas gets involved and supersedes the NCAA. And that's where I think we're in this uncharted territory.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you go on ESPN right now, and a lot of
deal, right?
Big 12 ADs hold called event over Sorsby ruling. Texas court set Sorsby NCAA trial for February. I mean, there's a couple. Just if you just literally jump into ESPN and you start looking at some of the college football stories. This is the college football story. There's a place I consume a lot of my news. It's just a YouTube show. It's called Breaking Points, and they're really good. It's all political. This story is like a headline on there. Trust me, they got plenty of other stories to get into.
Yeah.
This is a headline on there for a number of different reasons, but it's I think nobody knows what the rules are. Nobody knows what the rules are in college athletics, and I really hope it gets clean. I really hope it gets cleaned up, because I think we don't know what the set of rules are.
I just think it's odd that I wouldn't have as big of a problem with it if he was only, if he was just betting USC football or betting on Gators games. But he was betting on Texas Tech games. And that's the big thing. If you want to keep integrity in the game, I
got no argument for that.
You can't have that at all.
Yeah, like more than 3.5 receptions for a player.
No,
yeah, because he could have a direct impact on it, or like a point shaving type of a deal.
This is why when the NBA started their season, it was like, what? Chauncey Billups,
head coach, the Trailblazers, involved in
Terry Rozier taking himself out of games. I mean, you're right.
But you bring up a good point. If it's happening with 30-somethings and 40-somethings and 50-somethings, and if there's something, I mean, I could see how it would happen.
It's a foundational.
I could see how it would happen. But again, it's going to be fascinating to see actually where that case goes. All right. If you missed Kyle Glaser, great MLB analyst, we had a conversation with him about the struggling Padres offense and what they can do about it. You'll hear that on the other side. Plus, if you want Chris Stapleton tickets, tell us why. Open the iHeartRadio app, search for 760, and click on that talkback mic. We'll announce a winner between now and 6 p.m. on Schaefer and Sleewa. Stay with us.
This report is sponsored by eBay. Padres and Reds are getting set for game 2 of their series down at Petco Park. It's going to be Chase Burns going for Cincinnati and Lucas Giolito on the hill for the Friars. First pitch is set for 6:40. In NFL news, the Bengals and Joe Burrow restructured his contract today by adjusting the deal. The Bengals will gain, $10 million in cap space for the upcoming season. eBay is home to millions of finds, and each one becomes part of your story. From your favorite vintage band tee to the dream car you've been searching for, or that foul ball you heroically gave away, it's all there on eBay. eBay, things people love.
All right, Schaefer and Sliwa on San Diego Sports 760. Alan's getting his sombrero Mexican food ready, as you can see actually on the stream. If you missed it earlier, Kyle Glazer, really great MLB analyst, was with us, and we started the conversation about his level of surprise in the continuous struggles of Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, it certainly has been surprising. Machado and Merrill much more so. I want to give Tatis credit. Obviously, people are focusing on the one home run and him going as long as he did without one, but he was still doing a lot of good things. He was making hard contact, he was drawing walks, he was stealing bases, he was bouncing back and forth between the infield and outfield capably. So even though the home runs weren't there, he was still doing a lot of good things to help the team win. Merrill and Machado, look, it's been surprising. These are two players that have established themselves when they're right as two of the best players in the National League, top 10 MVP type players. And for both of them to be hitting sub-Mendoza line as we hit June, it's certainly shocking. But again, it's not just them. This is a team-wide issue. The Padres, even after their win last night, they're 30th in runs scored, they're 30th in batting average, they're 30th on base percentage, they're 30th in slugging percentage. There's some communication and process issues involving how the offense is being managed right now that go beyond just Machado and Merrill. This is a bigger thing right now that they really need to fix and address.
Kyle, is this, one of those situations where you might have to make a change just to make a change?
It's certainly possible, but I think that would be cosmetic. This goes beyond just one person, and I don't know if it would really make that big of a difference. Again, when your entire, offense, for the most part, is hitting well below their career averages, and a team that is this talented and has $1.2 billion worth of contracts allotted to its lineup, you should not be last in the majors in every category. And you can drill down even more, right? Whether it's against fastballs, breaking balls, changeups, they're bottom 5 against all kinds of pitches. So there's clearly something in the chain that is not efficient right now, whether it's what information is being communicated, how it's being communicated, what the pregame routine looks like, what the work in the cage looks like, what's being emphasized mechanically. And again, the nature of baseball today is this goes beyond just one coach. These are all organization-wide processes, and it's those processes that need to change. Firing one person isn't going to fix all of it.
It's really interesting. I'm glad we can get your perspective on it. Kyle Glazer, longtime national MLB writer and analyst, with us right now on Schaefer and Sliwa. So, what are some mechanisms that would even be in place? To your point, forget about the hitting coach for a moment. You could move players around in the lineup. Some would argue changing, chairs on a Titanic or whatever. It's June. You could obviously look at the trade market and the possibilities there for AJ Preller. What are the mechanisms for Preller right now to improve this offense, if any?
Yeah, I mean, look, the trade deadline's not for another, 6-7 weeks. And by that time, if the Padres are still last in the majors in every offensive category, they're not going to be in position to buy. So I do think a lot of this, you have to start with what information is being communicated and how is it being communicated. Baseball is so awash in numbers right now. And, Manny Machado talked about this, and I think people focused on the wrong thing and just said, oh, he's complaining about analytics. The analytics aren't the issue. It's sometimes teams do not communicate numbers efficiently with players. They overwhelm them, or they don't communicate the right information. You have to be able to tailor your communication style to every player individually. And what Manny was speaking to, I thought, indicated that right now, the information and how it's being communicated and the amount of which is being communicated is not being done so in an effective manner. And that's something the Padres can and should change.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kyle, because, putting it from that perspective, maybe you're right. Maybe these players as bad as their batting averages, or are they really, there's such an extreme for so many players that it does make you kind of take a step back and say, all right, philosophically, there's a bigger issue here. But that is, the way you put it, either communication or how the message is being delivered, that's 80% of the battle in most businesses. And it is important to communicate, or relationships, or whatever the case is. So I feel like there's some foundational basics that certainly the Padres don't have the margin for error to, we already know coming into the season, it's like, all right, you're competing against so many good teams in the NL. What gives you optimism that things will change? What gives you optimism that those bats will turn around, or do you not feel optimistic that that's going to happen?
I think where you feel optimistic is the Padres players are being clear-eyed and honest about it. They're not sitting here saying, oh, our luck will turn. They're being very blunt and saying, no, we're not performing well enough right now. We need to fix this. And it sounds like a little thing, but you'd be amazed how many teams, how many players, how many managers, how many front office officials fall into we believe in our process and it's going to fix itself, which it never does. You need to be proactive and aggressive in fixing something that's not working. So I think what the Padres players are saying and how open and honest and direct they are about it, like, yeah, what we're doing is not working. We need to fix it. That's encouraging to me because, recognizing and admitting there is an issue is half the battle.
Yeah, it's well said. Kyle Glazer with us right now on Schaefer and Sliwa. When you see players come up, obviously they had the Laureano injury. They cut ties with Nick Castellanos. They maybe necessarily needed to do some shaking up, and that speaks to the Castellanos move. But we see Samad Taylor, and he's been a little bit of a spark plug. I think that's the word he used to describe himself. We see Jase Bowen doing some things positively. What can be the value? You've spent a lot of time covering both the major and minor leagues. What sometimes is the value of like an influx of young talent on a team?
I mean, it's enormous. I think specifically more than the youth, though, with Taylor and Bowen, who aren't actually like super young. I mean, they're in their 20s, but it's not like these are 22-year-olds. It's more about just changing the dynamic. And I actually thought these were really smart calls by the Padres, because what do you do when you have an offense that's not working? You start doing little things, trying to manufacture runs. You lay bunts down. You run the bases aggressively. You start trying to force the defense into mistakes. And we saw last year when the Padres offense was at its best in April, that's what they were doing. They were running. They were putting the ball in play, forcing defenses to make them, make the play. And more often than not, they would make a mistake at some point. The Padres would kick the door down. Bringing in players like this, again, it changes the dynamic and it just adds a little infusion of energy and dynamism to an offense that frankly had started growing kind of stale and ineffective. So this is exactly what you do when you have a team that's not hitting. You bring in these kind of players, you start playing small ball, trying to get some things going. And look, last night was a really, really good preview of things to come. And I think it's important we see more of it as opposed to it just being a one night kind of thing.
Kyle Glazer joining us here on the Schaefer and Sliwa show. Kyle, I'm curious, let's, however you want to kind of lump in these teams, but how do you think the Padres stack up against some of these other teams in the NL? If you want to take the Dodgers out of the mix, I mean, it's up to you, however you want to look at it. But some of these other squads, I know Atlanta's playing really well, as is Milwaukee, but you start getting to the Cardinals and the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. Maybe we already know how they stack up against the Phillies since they went 0-6 against them this year. But how do you think they compete against these other wild card potential teams?
I see them as right on the line of, the last wild card spot versus being the first team out. This is not a terrible team, right? Despite all the issues we're talking about, they have a winning record, and they've done that while getting no offensive production from their stars for the most part, Nick Pivetta being on the IL. So, again, this is an okay team, not terrible. I think, look, you have to put the Braves and Phillies ahead of them, the Brewers ahead of them, the Dodgers certainly ahead of them. The Cubs have been inconsistent. I think when we look up at the end of the year, they will be a better team than the Padres too. So, I mean, that's 5 teams right there. And then it comes down to, okay, how do the Padres match up against the Diamondbacks? I do think that is a very, very close on the margins, razor thin difference. We'll see if the Cardinals can keep it up. I think the Reds will be better than they've been. So to me, they will be either that number 6 playoff team or they'll be the first team out.
So knowing that, and I agree, and I think a lot of people, when you take the step back, you're being realistic on it, look at the Padres as, a team that's going to be playing a road wildcard series as a best case scenario. What does that mean for AJ Preller? Like when you get to the deadline, let's just say they're in that spot and they're a handful of games over and they're in playoff positioning or within a game or two of it. What level of aggressiveness will he have in that scenario in 2026, if you were guessing?
Well, we've seen that AJ Preller, look, he adjusts to what the reality of the situation on the ground is, which is the right thing to do. Whatever criticisms you have of AJ Preller, he is always very much someone who looks at the situation realistically. And when he thinks there's a chance to do something, he will go, very, very to the extreme on acquiring. But he also recognizes when a team maybe doesn't have it and he doesn't go bonkers. So it really is just going to come down to where the Padres are. If we get to, the trade deadline and they're 5 games out and they're kind of, a game above 500, a game below, AJ Preller will never sit still and do nothing, but I don't think we'll see what we saw last year. And let's not forget, a big factor behind what happened last year was how well the Padres played leading into the trade deadline. If they had not played as well as they were at that moment in time, they would not have been as aggressive as they were. So at the end of the day, ultimately the players are going to decide how aggressive the front office is going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've heard Preller say that before, and you're right. It's the right motto to have. And, looking at last season, Kyle, they get to the trade deadline. John, you're doing shows at that time, and everyone got so excited because they felt like they addressed so many of these needs. What have you just kind of made of? I know it looks a little bit. If I asked you this question a week ago, it would have been a lot different of an answer. But when you look back at some of those trades, at least from last season, the idea was you can keep these players. Fermin has hit 3 home runs in the last 3 games. So, he's certainly making up for some of his work. Unfortunately, Ramon Laureano, he's got an injury and could potentially miss the rest of the season. And as great as Mason Miller has been, if you're a team that's not winning, you don't see Mason Miller, as often as Padre fans would like to see. When you look back and you kind of see what he addressed last season, how do you think things are shaping up with some of those players?
Yeah, I still think it was one of his better and stronger deadlines for him to address as many areas of the roster he did with a farm system, frankly, that was not particularly deep and was not particularly great beyond, the top 2, maybe 4 guys. At the end of the day, he still made additions that helped the Padres win 90 games, which they would not have come close to if he didn't make a lot of those additions. The only trade I took issue with and thought was a poor move was not the Miller trade. It was giving up both Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek for Freddy Fermin, who, even with his recent hot streak, he is very much a backup catcher, and trading 2 young, cost-controlled starters for that is an overpay. But it also speaks to how desperate the Padres catching situation was last year. But looking back on the whole, I still think, the trades, I think it was a strong deadline. He made the Padres better. He got multiple years of control for a lot of these guys, and that's all you can do. None of us can predict exactly what's going to happen a year and a half, 2 years out from now. You do the best with the information you have in the moment, and I do think it was a strong deadline, although I would not have made the Fermin trade.
Kyle, final one, and we got about 30 seconds here. Just your quick thoughts on how you think Craig Stammen has done so far.
Yeah, so far so good, right? Whatever the Padres struggles, and look, you can always criticize an individual decision here or there, but the Padres are playing hard. They're playing fundamentally sound baseball for the most part. He seems to be setting the right tone. He's handling, himself well, representing the organization well. He's done more than fine. This isn't a Craig Stammen issue.
Great stuff, Kyle. And again, congratulations to you and your wife and your family on the birth of your second daughter. And we appreciate your support of the station and the show. And we look forward to doing it again soon.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
All right. Great stuff there from Kyle Glazer. We're giving away Chris Stapleton tickets.
Let's go.
On the other side. We're doing it via the Talkback mic. If you want a chance to win those tickets, you can still weigh in. Tell us why you want to see Chris Stapleton at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater this July. Open the iHeart app, search for 760, click the Talkback mic. We'll announce a winner on the other side. Plus, what are we doing next weekend, me and Alan? Where are we going next weekend? We touched on this a little bit yesterday.
Let's talk about it.
We'll give you the details on the other side.
That's right.
Here on Schaefer and Sliwa. All right. First things first, let's give away Chris Stapleton tickets. We had people weighing in
First things first.
on the talkback mic. Oh, what do you have?
My people come first.
Yeah, we
Go
have.
ahead.
No.
go.
That's a good song. That's a deep
Great
cut,
song.
Alan.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, let's get a drum roll for Chris Stapleton tickets. He's coming to San Diego. Get a drum roll. Chris Stapleton tickets fittingly are going to Christopher, who told us he wanted to see the show on the talkback mic like a number of you did. Christopher, though, is the winner. He's seeing Chris Stapleton, the All-American Road Show with Molly Tuttle, July 11th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater in Chula. For more information, go to Ticketmaster.com. Now the floor is yours. Sir.
No, all I wanted to do is I just wanted to show for those who are on YouTube.
Oh, sombrero?
Sombrero came and hooked it up. Got some beef roll tacos right here.
Potato rolls. We got bean and cheese.
You got potato tacos, bean and cheese.
Chips.
Got some chips and salsa. Yeah, just got a little classic there, chips and salsa. Brent went a little bit more the dessert style, went with the churros. So shout out to Sombrero for hooking it up. Okay, so let's. No, you go.
No, you go.
No.
Okay.
You tell your story because you're the one that kind of sold this whole timeshare.
So a timeshare. So a couple of weeks ago, I was just, the idea of the World Cup. Again, I like the idea of it. It's not coming back to North America probably in my lifetime. So I'm like, let's, I was trying to figure out is there a way to go? And I'm like,
started looking into it.
And I'm like, I'm not going to Inglewood to see, like, that to me is not like a World Cup experience. Why am I going to LA to see some match for $3,000? So
is that what it costs? Is that
some of them, I think the US on Friday has got to be thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So we start doing the math, and I was thinking about going there with
see good soccer.
I thought about going with my wife to just see a match.
Yep.
And she was like, I need to be honest with you. Like, I don't know if I'm like, I want you to do it because you want to do it, but I don't really think that
she wasn't into it.
With having a 7-year-old and all this, I mean, what are we really going to do? I said, okay. And that's when you and I just started talking about it. I explained the situation. I'm like, I don't know if Chris is really going to be in.
You also mentioned something like, hey, I was talking to Darren about this.
Yes,
and he trying to get
I said, Darren, what do you think? Like, should I go to Mexico? Should I go to Canada? What do you think makes sense? And he offered some advice on it. And I started looking around, and I found a match the weekend of June 19th. We're off for Juneteenth, which is now a federal holiday, or a company holiday, certainly. I think a federal holiday. And we were looking at matches, and we found one between Japan and Tunisia,
right,
in Monterrey, Mexico, on a Saturday night, June 20th, which is less than 2 weeks away. And guess who's going? The whole band. Me and you are going down there.
We just started booking everything.
We started booking it like within
I don't know what happened.
Hours. But we just were like, I think we were both like, that's cool. That would be fun to do.
It's a quick trip. It's Friday to a Sunday, flying out of Tijuana.
Yep.
Freaking awesome there as well. We're starting to kind of figure out, all right, where the hell are we going? We're going to Otay Park.
Yeah, we got to figure
walk over.
Out.
We got a lot to figure out. One of our buddies here, Dom, was telling us, he's like, yeah, you got to get there basically 7 hours early. I don't know. Whoa. We're still figuring it out.
Yep.
But you and I are going to Monterrey, Mexico.
Right. We've only done a show together for 2 months.
The World Cup together. And, obviously we booked our hotel. We booked everything else. That's very, very random, brother.
And wouldn't you agree
very random.
With as late as we did it and leaving the country to do it?
Pricing was reasonable.
It is reasonable. I'm telling you, flying hotel tickets, I think is much more affordable than going to a match in Inglewood.
And this is like a unique experience.
It is.
We're going to be in Monterrey, Mexico.
I've never been to Monterrey.
We're flying out of Tijuana. We're getting the whole freaking experience here.
Anyone else going to be there? Hit us up.
That's right.
I was talking to Darren.
That's right.
Like,
by the way, that's a better idea. If to go to the World Cup, that's a very unique way of doing it. I'm really excited about it.
It reminds me, again, I went with my wife to Mexico City to see the Padres, as we've talked about 3 or 4 years ago, and met with a loyal listener, Carlos Mania. I met with him. In fact, he got me tickets. He got my wife and I tickets to the Padres and the Giants a few years ago. But I think there will be actually a lot of San Diegans. I bet when we're on that flight, there'll be a lot of San Diegans. Obviously, there'll be Mexicans as well. But I think there'll be a lot of San Diegans on that flight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. But it's so random. Like when I was I've told a couple of buddies about it. I told my girl that we don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, I don't either. But John and I have decided, we're going and we're going together.
Do we need a game plan while we're there? Like we get in Friday afternoon. Like what's the
Here's
plan?
What I would love. I don't know if we need a game plan, but I'd love some suggestions.
Yeah.
Like if people are saying, hey, you should do this, you should do that. I'm on Twitter at Alan Sliwa. You're on Twitter at John Schaefer. If you go on YouTube or anything like that, any suggestions? I mean, we're open to taking them.
Yeah, I like that. At Schaefer and Sliwa as well on social media. So yeah,
I got some work to do before we go.
Such as
just got a whole apartment thing going on here, trying to figure out
this.
When the show ends, I got to go check. I got to go see some, mattress.
When
literally
the show ends. You're gonna do mattress shopping on a Tuesday night.
The game. I'm going to UTC, so that's where I'm. Where I'm going.
Will you buy one tonight?
I don't know. I got an apartment that I'm getting the keys to come Friday. So
do you need a bed, or are you in the place?
I'm kind of starting fresh, starting new.
You wouldn't just sleep on the floor.
Been up in. Oh no. I have a tent already. That if I want to go, I'm going to Joshua Tree.
Gotcha.
I'm not tenting in my new apartment.
You're gonna have a bed.
Yeah.
That's smart. All right. Well, anyway, it's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to that. And by the way, join us. We're doing that watch party down in Little Italy Friday afternoon on 760. We're broadcasting on air from 12 to 5:30. The station is Schaefer and Sliwa from 3 to 5:30. Get to Little Italy this Friday. U.S. is playing Paraguay. World Cup kicks off Thursday. Mexico's playing Thursday.
We're doing a nice slice of nice Italian pie when we're out there. We get a little. Come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Come on, Schaefer.
Whatever you recommend.
Little tiramisu when we're out there. I mean, we're going to Little Italy.
Whatever. I'm gonna soak it all in. This weekend, next weekend, I'm soaking it.
What's the beer out there? Peroni? Peroni's an Italian beer, I think. We just go all. What's that?
I think that's right. Okay.
I think so, right?
All right, back tomorrow at 3 p.m. For Brent and Alan, I'm John. This has been Schaefer and Sliwa on San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. Peace.